Welcome to the Fantasy Audiobook. The Good-for-Nothing Senior Brother. You can become stronger by sleeping. Chapter 81. As the huge head fell, the giant was left with only a huge body and a huge arm that was blindly striking at the surrounding stone forest. Wu Yong was constantly dodging at this time, and kept attacking the giant's remaining arm with the dragon scale halberd in his hand. Boom, boom, boom. As the gravel continued to fall, Wu Yong soon chopped off the giant's remaining arm. At this time, Wu Yong looked at the giant whose head and arms had been chopped off by himself, and who was still frantically hitting the surrounding stone forest. This isn't even dead. Is this a stone or a living thing? This is totally illogical. Wu Yong murmured and suddenly had a bold idea in his mind. Wu Yong flashed his body and rushed towards the giant's chest. He used 5 elements earth escape directly and got into the giant's chest with a hiss. Bursts of light suddenly emitted from the giant's chest, and explosions came from the giant's chest. At this time, Wu Yong was frantically destroying the rocks inside the giant's chest, and all the surrounding rocks were smashed to pieces with his dragon scale halberd. As he went deeper, Wu Yong saw a huge heart. This gray heart was made of a huge stone. Wu Yong struck at the stone heart without saying a word. Boom! A simple halberd light struck the heart formed by the boulder, and a crack suddenly appeared on it. At this time, the giant body without a head and arms suddenly trembled. Seeing the crack appearing, Wu Yong swung the dragon scale halberd with all his strength, and the halberd light instantly struck the crack in his heart. Boom, 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 boom. As explosions rang out, the heart formed by the boulder suddenly exploded and shattered. The giant's body fell straight to the ground as if dead. Boom. The ground with a radius of more than 10 miles was filled with cracks. After the giant's huge body fell, a mountain range stretching for dozens of miles was formed. Wu Yong broke through the hard rocks from the mountains with a dragon scale halberd in his hand and rushed out. Boom! Rubbles flew everywhere, and Wu Yong's body rushed into the air. Looking at the mountains below, Wu Yong flashed away into the distance without looking back. 2 days later, Wu Yong recovered his spiritual power and set out again, killing dozens of second-level monsters along the way. After 5 days of traveling, Wu Yong arrived at the center of the Terra Desert. I saw volcanoes emitting billowing black smoke. Wu Yong, who was moving forward, suddenly felt a feeling of suffocation. Suddenly, he felt that the sand in front of him was even hotter. He secretly complained that he must not fly in such a place because the sky was filled with thick black smoke from the volcano, and if he inhaled it for a long time, he would be poisoned by fire. There was a bang, and the volcano in the distance erupted directly. The magma spurted hundreds of meters upward. The rolling magma flowed out from the top of the volcano and spread to the surroundings. Although Wu Yong was far away, waves of heat still hit his face, and his hair and eyebrows immediately became curved and scorched. If you get closer at this time, you will find that not far from the erupting volcano, the sand and stones on the ground have become stiff and cracked. After the rolling magma flows through, the nearby sand and stones also melt into red slurry and merge into the magma. Wu Yong only stayed for a while. The clothes on his body were slightly twisted, and the sweat he shed was also steaming with white air, which was instantly evaporated by the scorching temperature. At this time, the surrounding ground was filled with magma erupted by volcanoes. Wu Yong's figure could only land on a volcano that had not erupted. At this time, he was jumping on the mountain rocks, and soon jumped to another volcano that had not erupted. Volcano. Just when Wu Yong was about to jump again, he suddenly found a pair of fiery red triangular eyes emerging from the dark cave not far ahead. Wu Yong took a breath of air and stared at the dark cave, motionless. A roar came from the dark cave, and the heat in the cave suddenly became strong. Wu Yong turned around and ran away. As he ran, the sand and stones around him immediately turned red. He saw countless flames quickly gathering from all directions in the cave behind him, forming a creature with a triangle and 2 horns emitting flames all over its body. It stared closely at Wu Yong, who was escaping at a high speed, with murderous intent in its eyes. He roared towards Wu Yong, who was escaping, and rushed over. The sand around him immediately turned red with every step taken by the fire beast. When Wu Yong looked back, his heart skipped a beat. At this time, the sand around him immediately hardened at a speed visible to the naked eye. At this time, layers of cracks appeared in the hard sand on the ground, and they slowly collapsed inward. After a while, a huge basin appeared. Wu Yong's body collapsed with the hard sand, and his body fell into the basin. The fire beast came to the basin with its body full of flames, roared and rushed down towards Wu Yong in the basin. With Wu Yong's Chongjiang sword in his hand, he slashed out a golden sword light towards the fire beast that was charging at a high speed. A golden sword light collided with a ball of flame. Boom! As the explosion sounded, the flames once again turned into a fire beast with a pair of triangular eyes. The golden sword light dissipated with the explosion, and the fire beast's body only paused slightly before charging towards Wu Yong again. Boom! The fire beast pounced on the position where Wu Yong was standing, and the ground suddenly turned red. Wu Yong's figure rose rapidly at the moment the fire beast pounced, narrowly escaping the fire beast's attack. Roar! The fire beast raised its head that was burning with raging fire, and with a roar, a flame as thick as an arm came out of its mouth. The flames shot towards Wu Yong in the air. At this time, Wu Yong stood up with one hand and grabbed it with his fingers, and the spiritual shield suddenly appeared in his hand. Boom! Arm-thick flame energy suddenly shot onto the spiritual shield, and the scorching heat spread to all directions along with the sparks scattered by the explosion. Wu Yong was also shaken by the violent explosion shock wave and flew backwards several hundred meters. At this time, the flame energy spurted by the fire beast dissipated, and the spiritual shield emitted high temperature. Wu Yong immediately let go and let the spiritual shield fly around him. The Chongjiang sword in his hand slashed at the fire beast again, and two crossed golden sword lights flashed down at the fire beast below. The fire beast suddenly raised its head and roared, spitting out a stream of flame energy from its mouth again. Boom! The two crossed golden sword lights and the flame energy spouted by the fire beast met in midair, and a violent explosion suddenly occurred in midair. Circles of ripples spread at the point of collision, and the shock wave expanded the basin by dozens of meters. The flame energy dissipated, the two crossed golden sword lights dimmed, and the remaining attacks fell directly on the fire beast. Boom! An explosion came from the fire beast, and the fire beast suddenly roared in pain. Wu Yong rushed forward with his body in the air. Even the air where the fire beast's body passed was burned and turned red. At this time, Wu Yong raised the Chongjiang sword with both hands, and the spiritual power in his body exploded. A dazzling golden light rose into the sky. The sword points to the sky. The huge golden sword light slashed towards the charging fire beast. The heat wave around the place where the sword light passed was cut into two sides, and the surrounding space became distorted. The fire beast collided towards the golden sword light without fear. Its whole body was burning with raging fire, and it kept roaring from its mouth. Its triangular eyes stared closely at the golden sword light. Boom! The huge golden sword light struck the fire beast's flame-filled body, and the scene suddenly looked like fireworks exploding in the air to form brilliant light, with circles of transparent ripples spreading in all directions. The surrounding volcanic ash was turned upside down by the violent shock wave, and the hard sand and stones in the basin were shattered. The fire beast's flame-filled body was immediately blasted by the golden sword light, turning into a sky full of stars and falling toward the ground. The golden sword light dissipated and Wu Yong stared closely at the fire beast that turned into little flames. I saw the firelight all over the sky falling to the ground and slowly condensing. After a while, a smaller fire beast formed again. The triangular eyes were particularly conspicuous. The newly formed fire beast looked up to the sky and roared. Roar! At this time, a roar came from the dark cave, echoing the roar of the fire beast, and the earth suddenly began to tremble. The gravel on the ground began to beat regularly with each vibration. After a while, another pair of triangular eyes appeared in the dark cave. The surrounding temperature increased sharply, and another fire beast rushed out of the cave and rushed towards the basin where Wu Yong was. Boom! The body of the fire beast that had just rushed out fell next to the fire beast that Wu Yong had cut off half of its flames. As soon as it fell, the surrounding sand and stones suddenly turned red, and then it stared at Wu Yong with a grin and triangular eyes full of murderous intent. As soon as the two fire beasts met, they immediately attacked Wu Yong from the left and right. The two fire beasts turned into two blazing fires at extremely fast speeds and rushed to Wu Yong's side with lightning speed. Wu Yong flew backwards, and the Chongjiang sword in his hand suddenly swung out two swords, one to the left and one to the right, and the two golden sword lights flashed towards the two fire beasts. Boom! Boom! The golden sword light struck the two flames. The golden sword light dissipated and the flames turned into two fire beasts again. The flames on the fire beasts were completely dissipated by the sword strike. When Wu Yong saw that the attack was effective, he immediately used his phantom body technique to fight with the two fire beasts. The fire beasts kept hitting Wu Yong, and Wu Yong dodged while wielding the Chongzheng sword. The sword energy slashed at the two fire beasts one after another. After an hour, the flames on the fire beasts were 1/3 weaker than before. At this time, the larger fire beast immediately opened its mouth and swallowed the body of the smaller fire beast. With a roar, the fire beast became as tall as it was when it first appeared, and the flames on its body became able to burn again. Everything looks like. Can you still do this? Seeing the fire beasts devouring each other, Wu Yong's national quintessence burst out in shock. He finally managed to weaken the flames on the two fire beasts, but as long as they devoured each other, they returned to their original appearance. The newly recovered fire beast opened its big mouth at this time, and a hot flame energy spurted out from the mouth, and the air wherever it passed was filled with the breath of high temperature. Wu Yong stood on the edge of the basin, facing the blazing fire beast in front of him. The fire beast is huge and surrounded by fire. Its eyes are triangular, revealing an evil and wild look. Wu Yong held the Chongzheng sword tightly in his hand, his eyes firm and decisive. He knew the difficulty of this battle, but he did not flinch. The fire beast opened its bloody mouth, and a huge ball of flames spurted out and attacked Wu Yong. Wu Yong dodged sideways and nimbly avoided the attack of the flames. When the flames sprayed on the ground, all the surrounding sand and rocks turned into red magma. He quickly swung his sword, drawing out a sharp sword energy, and slashed towards the fire beast with a huge golden sword light. The golden sword light struck the fire beast's body, and bang, the flames on the fire beast's body were suddenly weakened by the golden sword light, and the fire beast let out a roar. It danced its thick claws, trying to catch Wu Yong. Wu Yong jumped nimbly and kept changing his body shape, preventing the fire beast from getting close. As the battle progressed, the stalemate between Wu Yong and the fire beast was gradually broken. Wu Yong discovered the weakness of the fire beast. He concentrated his energy and stabbed the fire beast's abdomen with all his strength. The Chongzheng sword exuded dazzling golden light and stabbed into the belly of the fire beast instantly under Wu Yong's control. The Chongzheng sword penetrated the fire beast's body, and the fire beast let out a painful howl. However, the fire beast did not fall easily. It used its last strength and rushed towards Wu Yong. Wu Yong was not afraid. He waved the Chongzheng sword again and launched a final duel with the fire beast. In the fierce confrontation, the golden sword light and flames continued to collide. At this time, the sky was as gorgeous as fireworks, and explosions rang in the air. After an hour, Wu Yong gradually gained the upper hand. In the end, Wu Yong completely defeated the fire beast with a decisive attack. The fire beast fell into the lava of the volcano and gradually disappeared. Wu Yong panted tiredly, but his face was filled with the joy of victory. He successfully defeated the powerful fire beast. At this time, he only had a trace of spiritual power left. Regardless of his excitement, he flew up and found a safe place to restore his spiritual power. The two fire beasts were so difficult for him to deal with. There were so many volcanoes around him and he didn't know how many fire beasts like this there were. If he encountered 10 or 20 fire beasts like this, it would be absolutely difficult for him to deal with it. 2 days later, Wu Yong appeared on a volcano that had not erupted. When he looked up, he saw dense volcanoes. Some volcanoes were erupting, while others were constantly emitting black smoke as if they were about to erupt magma. Wu Yong wanted to take a detour, but there were volcanoes covering hundreds of thousands of miles. No matter where he crossed, he had to pass through the volcanoes full of magma. Wu Yong had no choice but to bite the bullet and march towards the volcanoes ahead. He kept jumping in places not covered by the magma. The extremely high temperature around him made his robe shrink to as tight as a cheongsam. At this time, Wu Yong continued to mobilize the spiritual power in his body to form a spiritual shield to resist the surrounding high temperature, but the effect was minimal. The surrounding heat waves continued to impact Wu Yong's face, and his face had turned red and his eyebrows were red. It has also been slightly curled, and the ends of the hair are popping up like popcorn. The surrounding magma is constantly emitting black bubbles, and the volcanoes in the distance are constantly spewing out rolling magma. At this time, magma rivers on the earth are spread throughout the entire volcano group. There is no smell of any living things around. It's the smell of burning magma mixed with sand. Just as Wu Yong was cautiously jumping on nearby rocks that had not been eroded by magma, suddenly there was a cry for help calling his name from behind. Help me, you fool. I can't help you. Old man, I can't help you. Ha. Ha. I saw that Feng Wuji was running wildly at this time, constantly jumping on the rocks towards Wu Yong. Behind Feng Wuji was a large group of fire beasts whose bodies were burning with blazing fire. There were thousands of densely packed fire beasts at a glance. At this time, the dense fire beasts behind Feng Wuji were roaring madly and running towards him, as if they would not give up until Feng Wuji was killed. At this time, Wu Yong felt as if he had seen a ghost. He unexpectedly encountered this old beggar in the center of the Terra Desert. Moreover, the old beggar was also being chased by thousands of fire beasts. The two fire beasts had already made him use all his strength. I tried my best to face these thousands of fire beasts with triangular eyes. What was the difference between facing death and seeking death? You uncle's old beggar, stay away from me and don't come near me. I'm not familiar with you. Seeing Feng Wuji, Wu Yong was shocked, but when he saw thousands of fire beasts behind him, Wu Yong had already started to run for his life. At this time, Wu Yong's spiritual power exploded all over his body, and he ran forward as fast as he could. You brat, you are so dishonest. Not only did you cheat on my spiritual stone, but you also refused to save me. Just wait for me. I'm waiting for you to buy shit, so run somewhere else. I don't want to die, you old Biden. At this time, the scene became Wu Yong desperately escaping in front, Feng Wuji followed closely behind Wu Yong, and thousands of fire beasts were chasing behind them. At this time, Wu Yong could not care less about the high temperature around him, as long as he could have a place to stay. The body will quickly borrow strength. Feng Wuji followed Wu Yong's foothold and jumped. After a while, Feng Wuji caught up with Wu Yong and ran parallel to him. You brat, you are unjust. You don't want to save me. You don't know how to respect the old and love the young. Didn't you see that there are so many soldiers chasing me behind me, old man? You are not even willing to help me stop him. I stopped you. Why didn't you stop it yourself? Look at these densely packed fire beasts, how could I stop them? I didn't even have time to run for my life and you let me stop you. Where the hell are you going to provoke so many third-level fire beasts? No more, no more, my old man is unlucky to have stabbed the fire beast's nest. You brat, you can borrow this sword for me to use. Take it, stop it yourself, it's important for me to escape. Upon hearing Feng Wuji's words, Wu Yong directly thrust the Chongjiang sword into his hand. Just when Wu Yong was about to speed up his escape, Feng Wuji's hand instantly rested on his shoulder. You brat, what do you want to do? I just have a spiritual weapon but no spiritual power. How can I resist it? I'll lend you your spiritual power by the way. Before Wu Yong could finish speaking, Feng Wuji's hand suddenly had a huge suction force that drained the spiritual energy from Wu Yong's body. At this time, Wu Yong's body wilted like an eggplant beaten by frost. Feng Wuji held Wu Yong in one hand and the Chongjiang sword in the other. With the help of the spiritual power extracted from Wu Yong's body, the Chongjiang sword suddenly slashed backwards. The situation suddenly changed with the sword, and the surrounding time seemed to stop instantly. The huge golden sword light suddenly stretched for hundreds of miles, and the surrounding heat waves spread under the huge golden sword light. Boom! Feng Wuji slashed with his sword among the thousands of fire beasts that were chasing after him. The hundreds of third-level fire beasts in front suddenly turned into a sea of fire and died one after another. A huge explosion sounded from behind the two of them. There were blazing fires burning for dozens of miles around. Fire beasts rushed out from the raging fire and rushed towards the two of them at high speeds. Wu Yong, who was holding a limp body in his hands by Feng Wuji, quickly ran forward after finishing a sword strike. He looked at the Chongjiang sword in his hand and then looked at it again. Look at Wu Yong in his hand. Not bad, brat, this spiritual weapon is so powerful. You have some abilities. My day, your uncle. I've been unlucky for 8 lifetimes when I met you. You give me your spiritual power. While Wu Yong was cursing Feng Wuji weakly, he took out the handful of pills from his storage bag and stuffed them into his mouth to continuously restore his spiritual power. It doesn't matter if you borrow my Chongjang sword. You ride on the horse and draw out my spiritual power. Don't you have any spiritual power yourself? You really deserve to die. Oh, you can't say that, old man, I'm still saving you now. Even if you don't repay the favor, you still scold me. You heartless little guy. Listening to the shameless words spoken by Feng Wuji, Wu Yong suddenly wanted to die. Are you trying to save me? You brought the fire beasts yourself, and you are the one who has a grudge against them. How innocent the first am. You ran towards me, completely disregarding my life and death. Do you understand this is fate? Brat, why didn't I find someone else but you? There is no living person within hundreds of thousands of miles of the Terra Desert. How did you appear here? Aren't you harming me? I have experienced everything by myself, but I am unlucky to meet you wherever I go. Okay, stop talking. The spiritual power in your body has almost recovered. Take more medicine. I'll knock you uncle. Hey, it seems that he has almost recovered, and he speaks with great energy. After Feng Wuji finished speaking, he immediately drained the spiritual power from Wu Yong's body. In despair, Wu Yong's spiritual power disappeared again, and 2 lines of tears flowed out of the corners of his eyes. Feng Wuji waved the Chongjang sword again at this time, and a golden sword light slashed towards the rear again. Facing the group of fire beasts that were getting closer and closer, the golden sword light directly slashed at hundreds of fire beasts in the front row. Boom! There was another violent explosion, and the surrounding magma exploded. It was like throwing a huge stone on the lake, and the magma splashed around. The hundreds of fire beasts in the front row were suddenly slashed and exploded by Feng Wuji's sword. Under the violent shock wave, the surrounding magma and flames mixed together and spurted towards the surrounding mountains. This group of fire beasts seemed to have no fear of death. They did not flinch when they saw so many companions dying, and the murderous intent in their triangular eyes became even stronger. Feng Wuji carried Wu Yong and kept jumping between volcanoes, always keeping a certain distance from the fire beasts. Wu Yong looked like a chicken falling in the water, with a look of despair on his face. At this time, he was holding a storage bag and stuffing pills into his mouth. Feng Wuji looked at Wu Yong, who was taking pills non-stop, with a smile on his face. That's right, that's it. Take more medicine and you'll recover faster. Shut up, you old Biden, don't try to drain my spiritual power, otherwise Before Wu Yong could finish speaking, the spiritual power in his body disappeared again. Feng Wuji slashed his sword towards the back again, killing dozens of fire beasts with this sword. At this time, the golden sword light is no longer as dazzling as the first sword before. This is because the spiritual power in Wu Yong's body was extracted by Feng Wuji as soon as he recovered half of it. However, under the influence of Feng Wuji's spiritual power, the power of the Chongjang sword was much greater than that of Wu Yong's normal use. Perhaps it was because Feng Wuji's effect on spiritual power reached an incredible level. Wu Yong was desperate at this time. He couldn't escape or break away. He could only be carried by Feng Wuji, and he was constantly extracting his spiritual power. Wu Yong could only keep taking medicine in despair, stuffing handfuls of pills into his mouth desperately, his face as pale as if he had been squeezed dry by 10 female monks. Brother, uncle, I beg you, please stop draining my spiritual power, okay? I can't do it anymore, I'm about to die. Which monk can withstand such consumption? Boy, are you an ordinary person? You can't bear this consumption. What big things can you do in the future? You'd better shut up, or I'll throw you into the herd of fire beasts behind you and make you their food. Quote. Wu Yong did not know how many pills he took in the next few days. Every time when the spiritual power in his body recovered more than half, he would be drained by the old scoundrel Feng Wuji. At this time, only less than half of the fire beasts behind the 2 people were left. After several days of running away, the 2 people had crossed most of the volcanoes. Wu Yong had already eaten an entire storage bag of elixirs and was taking out the second storage bag. He grabbed a handful of elixirs with trembling hands and stuffed them into his dry and cracked lips. Old beggar, I can't survive. Send me to the hospital quickly. I think I can still save you. If it's later, I won't be saved. Shut up, you're still alive and well. It's unlucky to keep talking about death. If you don't bear with me, we will get rid of these fire beasts in no time. Ooh, I can't stand it any longer. Please stop pumping my spiritual energy. The elixir is almost gone. Just as Wu Yong wailed, the spiritual power in his body disappeared again. At this time, Wu Yong was used to this feeling, and he felt like he was hollowed out in an instant. His face was expressionless, and his eyes were blank, as if he had lost confidence in the future. How could he be allowed to die with dignity instead of having his spiritual energy drained over and over again by Feng Wuji? And dying, this is really too frustrating. Wu Yong stopped taking medicine at this time. Anyway, if he recovered some spiritual power, he would be extracted again by Feng Wuji. It was better to give up the resistance and fend for himself. Feng Wuji looked at Wu Yong, who was starting to show off, and immediately threatened him. Boy, take the medicine quickly, or I will leave you behind. I can't do it anymore, just leave me and let me die with dignity. Bah, why do you have no dignity? How many people want the old man to take out their spiritual power and I'm still not willing to do it? Why are you not willing to do it now that you are here? Then go find them and let me go, okay? My master and junior sister are still waiting for me at home. I haven't lived a good life for a day. Shut up and recover quickly. This is the last time. I promise this is the last time I will use your spiritual power. Wu Yong had no choice but to take the medicine again. After an hour, the spiritual power he had finally accumulated was drained away by Feng Wuji. As golden sword light slashed out, there was not much left of the fire beast behind him. Just as Wu Yong recovered his spiritual power again and again and was drained again and again, the fire beast behind him 3 days later was completely killed by Feng Wuji. At this time, Feng Wuji carried Wu Yong to an extinct volcano, jumped into the volcano, and landed in the huge cave inside the volcano. At this time, the temperature here was not as hot as outside because of the isolation of the mountain. Feng Wuji threw Wu Yong onto the rock aside, and he sat aside and took out a wine bottle and drank some wine. Wu Yong got up desperately and pointed at Feng Wuji with a trembling finger, wanting to speak. Okay, brat, save some energy. I advise you to quickly absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to restore your own spiritual power. Don't worry, old man, I won't harm you. As a last resort, Wu Yong sat down cross-legged and began to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. As soon as Wu Yong performed the Taisheng Dao Yi Ju, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth around him gathered crazily towards Wu Yong as if it had found a vent. 10 miles, 100 miles, 1,000 miles. A few breaths later, the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, which was thousands of miles away, seemed to be pulled and rushed crazily into the volcano where Wu Yong was. At this time, a vortex of spiritual energy spread outwards with Wu Yong as the center, like a huge funnel from bottom to top. Wu Yong, who was practicing, suddenly felt that he was absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth much faster than before. The meridians in his body became more flexible than before as the spiritual energy was continuously filled and drained. Feng Wuji on the side was drinking a small drink while looking at Wu Yong, who was practicing, and nodded with a smile. At this time, Wu Yong's practice had entered a state of selflessness, and naturally he couldn't notice Feng Wuji's every move. As the spiritual energy of heaven and earth gathered crazily from around him into his body, Wu Yong's complexion became better and better. At this time, the meridians in his body were like rivers that had dried up for a long time and were suddenly hit by a flood. A huge sense of satisfaction spread from the meridians in the body. As more and more spiritual energy from heaven and earth remained in the body and converted into spiritual power, Wu Yong absorbed the spiritual energy from heaven and earth faster and faster. The spiritual energy vortex covering 1,000 miles in radius suddenly expanded to 5,000 range. 10 days later, when Wu Yong was sitting cross-legged, a circle of transparent ripples suddenly spread around his body, and the spiritual power in his body spread out and scattered the surrounding gravel. Wu Yong slowly opened his eyes and ended his cultivation state. At this time, the spiritual vortex slowly dissipated, and the vortex covering a radius of 5,000 miles also dissipated as Wu Yong opened his eyes. Feng Wuji looked at the radiant Wu Yong, took a sip of wine and nodded. I'm not lying to you, brat, am I? Do you feel different? I just said that others want me to drain their spiritual power, but I'm not willing to do it. It's better for you, you have to live or die. Shut up, You old beggar. Even if you do this, I won't be grateful to you. It's none of my business that you provoke the fire beast. Besides, what's the use of absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth as fast as possible? Wu Yong just wanted to say that I have a system. What should I be afraid of? My improvement does not rely on absorbing the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. But when the words came to his lips, he quickly stopped the car. He cannot let the second person know his secret in this world, otherwise it will definitely attract the targeting and pursuit of all major forces. What are you doing? Just be content. Without me, the old man, how could you absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth so fast now? Okay, I won't talk to you anymore. Tell me how you came to the depths of the Terra Desert and stabbed the fire beast's nest. What kind of cultivation do you have? You don't even dare to use your own spiritual power. Quote. When Feng Wuji was asked this question by Wu Yong, he immediately became silent, because he also had a secret. He couldn't tell Wu Yong that he was the old Suzaku from the 9th level cultivation country. Besides, he didn't know about these secrets with Wu Yong's current strength. Qualifications. Old man, I was just wandering around. Yes, I came here while wandering around. So you and I are destined to meet you in this innocent place. If you don't say so, forget it. Just go and stop following me. You, a broom star, will do nothing good if I encounter you. You're going to drive me away when you recover, right? Okay, I've seen through you, you white-eyed wolf. Old man, I'm leaving. Feng Wuji turned his head 3 times in one step and kept talking with his mean expression. Am I really leaving? Get out of here. Let's go. Are you so cruel to drive me away? If you don't leave, I'll leave. Wu Yong really couldn't stand this extreme pull, so he immediately jumped into the air and flew towards the hole at the top of the volcano. After a while, his body disappeared from Feng Wuji's eyes. Arriving at the top of the cave, Wu Yong headed for the predetermined route. Half a day later, Wu Yong kept jumping among the volcanoes. He wanted to stay away from this unlucky thing. Nothing good would happen to him every time he met him. He was either being chased by people or by fire beasts. Since he met Feng Wuji, Wu Yong had never been smooth. He was either running for his life or on the way to escape. But what he didn't know was that if Feng Wuji hadn't protected him, he would have died long ago, whether it was the 4th level flying poisonous python last time or the group of fire beasts this time. In fact, the group of fire beasts was not chasing Feng Wuji but Wu Yong. It was because he killed 2 fire beasts that the group of fire beasts rioted. Because the group of fire beasts is very united, as long as one is injured, the entire group will go out to take revenge together, not to mention that Wu Yong killed 2. Feng Wuji showed up to help Wu Yong resist because he saw the entire group of 3rd level fire beasts chasing him. In order to make his appearance less abrupt and to prevent his identity from being exposed, Feng Wuji deliberately ran in front of the group of fire beasts and pretended to be chased. He was afraid that the law enforcement team of Qinggang Immortal Temple would discover his presence, so he used Wu Yong's Changjiang sword and the spiritual power in his body. All of this Feng Wuji did was to protect Wu Yong, a man who broke the situation, to grow up safely, neither letting him go too smoothly nor putting him in real danger. At this time, Wu Yong knew nothing about it and was still angry like a child and left alone. Just after Wu Yong had walked through more than half of the volcanic group, he suddenly found a flower emitting a strange red glow on an erupting volcano. On the top of the roaring volcano, a flower emitting a strange red glow stood proudly. Smoke filled the air, lava rolled, and it bloomed alone in this blazing hell. This flower is like an elf born in the flame, with its petals showing a bright blood-red color, as if it is a burning flame, shining brightly. Its stamens are shining with strange light, like a dazzling gem, attracting everyone's attention. The edges of the petals have a faint gold edge, giving people a mysterious and noble feeling. Each petal seems to be dancing, swaying gently with the flow of hot air, exuding an impulse that makes people want to get close to it. In such a harsh environment, the existence of this flower seems so incredible. It seems to have a power beyond nature, able to survive and bloom in the fury of volcanoes. It is a wonderful combination of fire and life, and a miracle of nature. Wu Yong had read the record of strange flowers and herbs before making a mask, so he recognized this flower. This is exactly the perfect auxiliary for people with fire spiritual roots. The 5th level spiritual medicine, lava flower. As long as you take this lava flower, you can raise the spiritual roots of people with fire spiritual roots to a level. As soon as Wu Yang saw the flower, he thought of his junior sister. The beautiful master already had a wide-sleeved glass fairy skirt, so it was perfect for him to give this lava flower to his junior sister. Thinking of this, Wu Yang carefully jumped towards the top of the erupting volcano. In his impression, there would be monsters guarding all the spiritual herbs and medicines, but he didn't know what kind of monsters would exist on this erupting volcano. And what kind of monsters could survive in this erupting volcano and live safely. Just when Wu Yang was a few miles away from the lava flower, the volcano suddenly exploded, and the fiery red rocks were blown to the surroundings. Wu Yang kept waving the Changjiang sword and chopped at the flying fiery red rocks. Bang, bang, bang. The red rocks flying towards him were all chopped up by him, and a fiery red lava snake emerged from the broken mountain, and the snake body as thick as a thigh was constantly dripping magma below. Looking into the cracked mountain, half of the lava snake's dozens of meters long body was still submerged in the magma. At this moment, it was constantly stirring the fiery red magma with black bubbles and crawling out of the mountain. The moment Wu Yang saw the lava snake appear, his spiritual power exploded wildly, and his body shot towards the lava flower on the top of the mountain. He wanted to be the first to collect the lava flower when the lava snake attacked. When the lava snake saw Wu Yang speeding up towards the top of the erupting volcano, its huge mouth opened and a fireball the size of an adult's head suddenly shot out. Boom! The fireball exploded behind Wu Yang, and the scattered magma was scattered on the rocks. The rocks suddenly sizzled. The lava snake kept spitting out fireballs, and Wu Yang kept jumping. Every time the fireball hit the place where he just landed, superior. Relying on the coverage of his spiritual consciousness and phantom movement, Wu Yang avoided the fireball attacks of the lava snake again and again. Looking from the air at this time, Wu Yang was running in front, and fireballs exploded behind him. Violent explosions continued to sound on the erupting volcano. At this time, the lava snake finally pulled out its entire body. The dozens of meters long body was twisting continuously. Every time the lava snake's body was twisted, a large amount of magma would be thrown out. After a few breaths, the lava snake finally emerged. It's what it is. On top of the fiery red figure are pieces of red scales. The scales are uneven as before. There are sharp barbs on the scales. A tail forms a red fan. At this time, the huge head is constantly spraying. It shoots a fireball, and the two slightly protruding snake horns above its head also indicate that it will turn into a dragon. At this time, all the magma stuck to the lava snake's body was thrown away, and the snake's body, which was dozens of meters long, coiled into a pile, and then it directly exerted force and rushed towards Wu Yang above at an extremely fast speed. Boom! The hard volcanic rock was shattered by the lava snake, and cracks spread out on the huge rock. In an instant, the lava snake was less than 100 meters away from Wu Yang. At this time, Wu Yang jumped and turned around, raising the Changjiang sword high. The spiritual power in his body exploded, and a huge golden sword light shot into the sky. The sword points to the sky. With a loud shout, Wu Yang struck down this shocking sword with all his strength. The golden sword light struck the lava snake below at great speed like it came from 9 heavens away. Boom! The tail of the lava snake that was rushing upward swept directly upwards, and it swept on top of the huge golden sword light. A big explosion occurred directly in the air. The middle of the volcanic mountain collapsed directly. Part of the fiery red volcanic rock flew everywhere, and the magma inside it collapsed along with it. It keeps flowing out. The golden sword light dissipated and the lava snake rushed upwards at an extremely fast speed. When Wu Yang saw that one of his 3 strongest moves did not cause damage to the lava snake, his spiritual power suddenly exploded again, and the endless spiritual power was absorbed by the Changjiang sword. Kang Long Zuri. Wu Yang once again slashed out the second of the 3 most powerful swords. As Wu Yang slashed out the Changjiang sword with all his strength, a green dragon rushed out. Roar! The shocking dragon roar resounded across the sky, and the azure dragon opened its big mouth and dived towards the lava snake at high speed. Boom! The cyan dragon and the fiery red lava snake collided in midair. It was like green and red fireworks exploding in the air. Circles of red ripples spread out in all directions at the collision point. The huge shock wave made Wu Yong's body fly upwards, hundreds of meters. The lava snake and the cyan dragon were in a stalemate in midair for a while. The cyan dragon dissipated, and the lava snake's dozens of meters long body fell down and hit the mountain. The lava snake that had just been hit hard suddenly rushed upwards at extremely high speed. Wu Yong took advantage of this slight gap and jumped several times to the location of the lava flower. At this time, the rolling magma flowed from the roots of the lava flower, and the surrounding temperature increased sharply. If it weren't for Wu Yong's internal body, his spiritual power spread out with all his strength to form a spiritual shield. At this time, his feet were probably melted. As soon as he arrived at the location of the lava flower, Wu Yong took out a jade box from his storage bag and grabbed the lava flower from the air with one hand. The lava flower was immediately uprooted and he had no time to appreciate the strange fiery red color. Wu Yong quickly put the flowers into the jade box, then put it in the storage bag. At this time, the lava snake that was rushing down below let out an extremely angry roar, as if something very important to itself had been taken away. Its diamond-shaped eyes were radiating blazing fire, and there was a fierce murderous intent in its eyes. After collecting the lava flowers, Wu Yong did not hesitate at all. He flashed away into the distance. Thinking of escaping here as fast as possible, he even lost the intention to fight with the lava snakes. Who knows how many lava snakes there are in total? Maybe there are countless more. Anyway, I have already obtained the 5th level elixir lava flower, and I have already made a profit this time. The best choice at this time is to accept it when it is good. However, this is Wu Yong's idea and not that of the lava snake. This lava flower is an important thing for this lava snake to be promoted to a dragon. Without the assistance of the lava flower, this lava snake would not be able to be promoted to a dragon. The confidence is reduced by 40%. Something so important to the lava snake was taken away by Wu Yong. How could the lava snake not be angry? At this time, the lava snake was frantically chasing Wu Yong, and fireballs were continuously sprayed from the snake's mouth. Explosions continued to occur behind Wu Yong, who was fleeing. Fireballs shattered the surrounding volcanic rocks. The lava snake's dozens-meter-long body continued to shuttle among the rubble. At this time, the fiery red snake's body turned into light red. Wu Yong's consciousness remained locked on the lava snake. At this time, the Chongzheng sword in his hand slashed backwards, and a golden sword light struck directly on the fireball spouted by the lava snake. Boom! The fireball exploded, and the golden light of the sword dimmed slightly, but its speed did not slow down and it struck directly on the head of the lava snake. Boom! The head of the lava snake was chopped off into the volcanic rock with a sword, and its body of dozens of meters directly passed over the snake's head and hit the hard volcanic rock heavily. After the sword strike, Wu Yong left quickly without looking back. At this time, he was already thousands of miles away from the place where the lava flower grew. The head of the lava snake rushed out of the volcanic rock and chased Wu Yong again. A quarter of an hour later, one man and one snake were far away from the volcano that had just erupted. Wu Yong kept jumping on top of the volcano at high speed, while the lava snake kept crashing through the mountain, passing through each volcano directly. The sky behind Wu Yong was filled with rubble exploding, and volcanoes that had not erupted before began to spew out magma after the lava snake crashed through it. The lava snake was like a lead, and every time it passed through a volcano, the volcano would erupt. Seeing that Wu Yong was about to escape from his territory, the lava snake became even more violent. After a roar, its speed suddenly increased. Just when it was about to approach Wu Yong, its huge tail smashed towards Wu Yong. His consciousness sensed that the tail of the lava snake hit Wu Yong. His body stopped quickly and he dodged to the left. Boom! The lava snake's tail hit the volcanic magma, and the hot lava river was directly blocked in the middle. Wu Yong, who was on the left side of the lava snake, seized the opportunity and stabbed the lava snake's diamond-shaped eye with a sword. Boom! The golden sword light shot directly into the eyes of the lava snake, and snake blood like magma spurted out from the left eye of the lava snake. The lava snake's dozens of meters long body was rolling on the ground in pain, and its tail kept beating. Hitting the nearby volcano, pieces of fiery red volcanic rock were smashed into pieces. Wu Yong was also impacted by the scattered volcanic rocks, and a tinkling sound came from the Lingtian shield. The lava snake, which was blind in one eye, immediately dived into the nearby lava river after rolling continuously. After a while, the lava river dried up, and the lava snake was drinking magma. At this time, all the fiery red magma was absorbed by the lava snake. Swallowed. The lava snake's body was constantly being burned by tens of thousands of degrees of magma, and its body had become as if it would explode at any time. The lava snake was ready to fight to the death. He wanted to die together with the human monk who blinded one of his eyes. At this time, the lava snake, whose body was constantly trembling, opened its mouth, and a stream of rolling magma was directly ejected from it. The magma it had just swallowed was immediately ejected towards Wu Yong. Unable to dodge, Wu Yong thought, and the spiritual shield suddenly appeared in his hand and quickly grew in size. Boom! The magma that kept erupting from the mouth of the lava snake suddenly shot onto the Lingtian shield. The Lingtian shield quickly turned red, visible to the naked eye. At this time, the magma and the Lingtian shield were in a stalemate, and violent high temperatures continued to be uploaded from the Lingtian shield. Come on, Wu Yong's left hand has been burned to pieces by the red spirit sky shield. After a few breaths, the magma in the lava snake's body was exhausted. Wu Yong was rushed hundreds of meters away by the huge impact and hit the volcano mountain heavily. Suddenly, a huge hole was smashed out. Wu Yong inside the hole spat out a mouthful of blood. The spiritual sky shield turned red all over and fell next to Wu Yong. Chongzheng Jianqiang supported his body and Wu Yong slowly stood up and wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth with his hands. With a thought in his mind, the spiritual sky shield flew back to him and kept flying around him. The spiritual power in the body wrapped around the injured left hand. At this time, the bloody left hand slowly recovered and became intact as before. On the other hand, after the lava snake spurted out the rolling lava, its dozens of meters long body fell weakly into the lava river. Taking out a handful of pills and stuffing them into his mouth, Wu Yong flew up, holding the Chongzheng sword in both hands and thrust it into the head of the lava snake. Boom! The Chongzheng sword pierced the head of the lava snake, and the whole blade of the sword was submerged into the huge head of the lava snake. At this time, the body of the lava snake stopped twisting and all its life force was lost, leaving only one diamond-shaped eye, which was full of unwillingness. Wu Yong stepped on the snake's head, pulled out the Chongzheng sword with all his strength, then flew up and slashed it down with another sword. Boom! The golden sword light directly split the huge head in half, and a fiery red demon core flew out from the snake's head. Wu Yong grabbed the demon core of the third-order lava snake and put it into the storage bag. Then the body disappeared in a flash. Originally he didn't want to fight with the lava snake, but Wu Yong still tenaciously killed the lava snake under its crazy pursuit. Not only did he get the 5th level elixir lava flower, but he also got a 3rd level elixir. Wu Yong didn't know at this time. How cool! As Wu Yong continued to move forward, he finally walked out of the dense volcanoes. As soon as his jumping figure landed on the ground, the sand and stones on the ground became softer, and the surrounding air no longer smelled of pungent magma. The surrounding temperature became more pleasant, and Wu Yong's frowning eyebrows relaxed. The robe on his body was blown up by the breeze, making a slight grin. Wu Yong was breathing heavily at this time. In the past few months, he had not dared to breathe like this in the volcanoes. He had always relied on the weak air filtered by the spiritual shield to breathe occasionally. Ah, I finally came over the center of Terra Desert. I walked through, Wu. At this time, Wu Yong seemed to be stretching his suppressed heart for months, and seemed to be venting his dull emotions, shouting loudly into the air. It's so noisy, it's so noisy. What are you moaning about? Aren't you just traveling through a small place? What's so impressive about it? At this time, an impatient voice came from behind Wu Yong. As soon as Wu Yong heard the voice, he immediately ducked aside in alarm. At this time, Feng Wuji was not far behind, sitting on a rock with his legs crossed and drinking a small drink. Hey old beggar, you showed up without saying a word, are you trying to scare me to death? Stay away from me, I'm afraid you'll take away my spiritual power again. Ha 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 ha, you brat, you are so scared. Your spiritual power is not enough for me to strike with a sword. I really don't look down on your meager spiritual power. Bah, you look down upon my meager spiritual power. Who was chased by fire beasts in the volcanoes before, and then kept extracting the spiritual power from my body to counterattack. You shameless old guy, I don't even want to expose you. Oh, I was helping you, you know. If it weren't for me, you would have been swallowed by the fire beast. Ha 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 ha, let your mother's horse go, you old fool, you help me. Then you are using your own spiritual power, why do you want to drain the spiritual power from my body? Faced with Wu Yong's constant scolding of himself, Feng Wuji was not angry but picked up the wine bottle and took another sip. As soon as he drank the wine, a sense of satisfaction appeared on Feng Wuji's face. As for why I need to extract the spiritual power from your body instead of using my own, ha 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 ha. The secret must not be leaked. I'm your sister, and nothing good will happen to you when I meet you, you haunting old swindler. In this short quarter of an hour, Wu Yong had already given Feng Wuji several nicknames amidst the curses, including the old beggar, the old fool, and the old cheater. Anyway, there was not a single good word coming out of Wu Yong's mouth. Feng Wuji had a mean look on his face. His appearance at this time was indeed worthy of the nicknames Wu Yong gave him. If Wu Yong knew that the rattlesnakes and bone-eating flying insects that surrounded him were all arranged by Feng Wuji, then he will definitely have a duel with Feng Wuji now. You brat, you can't say that. After all, I don't want to meet you. However, we are destined by fate. Even if we don't want to meet you, we can't. Where are you going, old man? Old man, I'm not going anywhere. I can just wander around wherever I go. Bah, shameless, just follow if you want. After finishing speaking, Wu Yong walked towards the outskirts of the Terra Desert side, while Feng Wuji followed Wu Yong shamelessly. The two walked in the desert one after another, bickering from time to time. Now they basically won't encounter third-order monsters. They are surrounded by some second-order monsters and first-order monsters. A month later, the two of them gradually moved away from the depths of the Terra Desert. At this time, except for the absence of trees, the air became very cool, which relaxed Wu Yong's tense mood a lot. Just as Wu Yong and Feng Wuji were walking side by side, a rattlesnake suddenly rushed out from under the sand in front, and its black-gray body turned into a gray light and shot towards Feng Wuji at high speed. Boom! Feng Wuji raised his hand and grabbed the rattlesnake in his hand. Then he took out the snake's gallbladder and threw it into his mouth and swallowed it. He threw the rattlesnake's body away and patted it. Clap your hands. Wu Yong was slightly shocked when he saw Feng Wuji's skillful technique. Although this rattlesnake was only a first-level monster, it was extremely fast. Wu Yong asked himself that he could dodge the rattlesnake's attack at will, but let himself catch it with his bare hands. You can catch this rattlesnake rushing at extremely fast speed, but you can't do it yourself. Old beggar, you're good at it. You can catch it all. It seems like you do have a few tricks up your sleeve. HMPH. You have seen it now. Old man, I am not a man for you. How about you want to become your teacher? Old man, I can teach you everything I have learned. Feng Wuji did have the intention of accepting a disciple. After all, he sincerely wanted to protect Wu Yong from growing up safely. But Wu Yong didn't appreciate it, asking him to recognize such an old beggar as his master. That is impossible. Come on, old beggar, my master is a beautiful woman. You want me to betray her and become your disciple? That's impossible. Although my beautiful master has never taught me any skills, I can't stand her beauty. I just like to be with her. Beautiful women together. Hey, you brat, no matter how many people have tried to become my disciples, they never got the chance. You actually rejected me, you brat with no eyesight. Old man, let me tell you, I have no shortage of martial arts and combat skills. I can rely on myself to improve my cultivation, let alone elixirs and spiritual stones. Tell me about your old and slovenly appearance. What do you want me to do? I'll take you as my teacher. Okay, if you don't bow, don't bow. If you regret it in the future, don't blame me for not reminding you. After passing this village, there will be no more shops. TCH, if you make me feel weird, aren't others trying to squeeze your head out? Then find someone else. The old man and the young man kept bickering all the time. During this period, Feng Wuji even caught a first-level lizard and roasted it to drink wine. Wu Yong had never eaten anything since the nascent soul stage, but when he saw Feng Wuji eating a mouthful, when it was dripping with oil, I couldn't help but cut off a piece of meat and eat it. As soon as the meat entered his mouth, Wu Yong's eyes suddenly lit up, and he finished a fist-sized piece of meat in a few seconds. Old beggar, your craftsmanship is not bad. How about it, old man? I am a professional. After all, I am eating it myself, so I have to do it better. You said you were fat and you still breathed, shameless. Time passed slowly and 2 days passed in the blink of an eye. The old man and the young man were about to leave the Terra Desert, and sparse trees began to appear around them. At this time, a group of people suddenly appeared, surrounding the two of them. The leader was a middle-aged monk in the golden core stage. There were dozens of people around him in the foundation establishment stage with different costumes and various weapons, including swords, guns, swords and halberds. When Feng Wuji saw this, he squatted down with his head in his hands. Wu Yong glanced at Feng Wuji, who was squatting on the ground with a look of disgust, and shook his head. Then he raised his head and looked at the leading middle-aged big-headed monk. Faced with Wu Yong's sharp gaze, the middle-aged big-headed monk was suddenly shocked. Go forward, senior. I have offended you so much, please forgive me, senior. After being glanced at by Wu Yong's sharp eyes, the big-headed middle-aged monk's legs suddenly trembled, his body trembled, and he couldn't even speak clearly. At this time, the pressure in Wu Yong's body slightly dissipated, and the dozens of monks around him were frightened to death. All the weapons in their hands were thrown to the ground and they knelt down one after another. Feng Wuji stood up proudly at this time, and his attitude changed 180 degrees. Seeing Feng Wuji's extremely cheap look, Wu Yong didn't even bother to be with him. He was obviously very high in cultivation, but he had to pretend to be a weakling. Where are you monks? Why did you stop us? Also, where is this place? Tell me all the information you know, otherwise you will all die. And the most important thing is to hand over all the spiritual stones you have confiscated. Wu Yong spoke slowly to the trembling people at this time, and stretched out his hand to the middle-aged big-headed monk who led them. Yes, are you deaf? Didn't you hear what the senior said? Hurry, hand over all the spiritual stones on your body. The middle-aged big-headed monk who led him suddenly transformed into an obedient younger brother and began to speak to his men. One of them started collecting spiritual stones. After a while, the big-headed middle-aged monk trotted toward Wu Yong with a bunch of low-grade spiritual stones in his arms. His appearance at this time was completely reversed from the one when he first surrounded Wu Yong and the two of them. Senior, these are all our spiritual stones, a total of 3,000 low-grade spiritual stones, please accept it, senior. How much? 3,000. You are so poor, I can't even look down on men whose income is less than 3,000, let alone how many of you can make up 3,000 together. When Wu Yong heard that dozens of monks had collected only 3,000 yuan of low-grade spiritual stones, he was a little embarrassed to grab them. The people in this place must be too poor. At this time, hearing that Wu Yong was dissatisfied with the middle-aged big-headed monk was so frightening that he almost lost his soul. His body couldn't stop trembling, and he kept praying in his heart, Senior, please don't kill me. I have seniors above me and young ones below. There is Zhaohong waiting for me in Yihangyuan. After all, flies are still meat when they are young. Wu Yong put the 3,000 pieces of low-grade spiritual stones into his storage bag with a wave of his hand. Then he looked at the trembling middle-aged big-headed monk and asked, Where are you here? Is there a city nearby? Shouldn't this be within the scope of the Sea of Demons? When did monks exist? Report, Senior, it is true that this is within the scope of the Sea of Demons, but 1,000 years ago, 2 great monks in the late nascent soul stage escaped from being hunted down from a certain 5th-level cultivation country, and came here through the inland sea in the center of the Sea of Demons. They worked together to kill all the high-level monsters within thousands of miles around, and founded the City of Sin. After thousands of years of continuous development, the City of Sin continued to welcome monks who offended other forces. All of these monks offended people they could not afford to offend and were hunted down and fled here. As long as the monks come to the Sin City, they only need to pay 20 low-grade spiritual stones every month to get the blessing of the City Lord's mansion. We brothers are really forced to come out to do this business of robbing families and homes, Senior. We feel bitter in our hearts, woo. If we can't hand in the spirit stones this month, we will be kicked out of the Sin City. There are often second-level monsters around here. If our group encounters a second-level monster, we can't stand it. Quote. Wu Yong listened to the news from the middle-aged big-headed monk, which gave him a preliminary understanding of the outer sea of the Demon Sea. Since there is a city here, he will definitely go in and take a look. After all, the elixir on his body is almost gone. If he doesn't replenish some, he probably won't be able to cross the inner sea of the Demon Sea. Feng Wuji, who was next to him, became interested as soon as he heard about the existence of the city. After all, his wine was gone. He hadn't drunk wine for a few days. As a drunkard, how could he bear this? Hey, brat, let's go into the city and take a look. Let's take a rest before we go. We finally met a living person in the past few months. Let's go into the city and relax. Shut up, I don't want to talk to you. I've seen people who are mean, but I've never seen anyone as mean as you. You kneel down when something happens. Why didn't you kneel down when you were chased by a group of fire beasts? Are you ashamed to kneel down in front of a group of juniors? What do you know? This is called the fun of life. Besides, it's not shameful to kneel down if you meet someone stronger than you. It's better than being beaten to death by a stupid and stubborn person. Boy, I admit that you have some pride, but before you become strong, you have to learn to be humble, understand? Wu Yong didn't expect Feng Wuji to say such philosophical words. He was speechless immediately. After all, the words were rough but the truth was not rough. Feng Wuji looked at Wu Yong in a daze. It seemed that he was touched by his words and fell into deep thought. Then he turned to look at the middle-aged big-headed monk. Come here, I'll give you 20 low-grade spirit stones each, go back and pay this month's city entrance fee. Feng Wuji took out a pile of spirit stones from his storage ring. The dozens of cultivators were moved to tears when they saw that the old man in front of them was actually going to help them. They lined up to receive the spirit stones one by one. Thank you, senior, thank you. Thank you, senior. Wow, I finally met a good person. After receiving the spirit stones, the cultivators kept thanking Feng Wuji, almost kneeling down and calling him daddy. After all, if they couldn't pay the spirit stones for entering the city, once they were driven out of the city lord's mansion, they would definitely become food for the nearby second-level monsters. After thinking about Feng Wuji's words for a while, Wu Yong also came back to his senses. Seeing Feng Wuji distributing spirit stones, he immediately lined up. Come on, we have everything, don't worry, 20 yuan each. When Feng Wuji handed out the last person, he immediately saw Wu Yong reaching out to him, and the spiritual stones he had just taken out were immediately taken back by him. Would you please have some shame, Wu Yong? How dare you line up? Who robbed them just now? You still say I have no shame, but I think you are the one who has no shame, you little thief. Don't go too far, old beggar, why do they have everything but I don't? If you don't give me anything, I will rob them again to see how many spiritual stones you can give out. Wow, good fellow. When the middle-aged big-headed monk who was leading the group heard that Wu Yong was going to rob them again, he immediately turned around and ran away. When the dozens of foundation building monks saw that their boss had run away, they also scattered and followed the direction of the middle-aged big-headed monk and disappeared in a flash. Look, you scared everyone away. You also robbed 3,000 low-grade spiritual stones. Are you still a human being? After robbing them, you still want to rob me? Only then did Feng Wuji realize that Wu Yong was really not a problem for him if he was mean. Sure enough, people like being mean would attract each other. Are they poor? I am even poorer. If it weren't for these few spiritual stones, would I have run so far? As for risking my life to cross such a dangerous place as the Boundary Mountains and the Terra Desert. Hurry up, 40 spiritual stones, I want twice as much as them. You get out of here and you don't have a single one. Besides, I helped you rob the Wying Gate before. I promised you that I would get 40% of it if you succeeded, but you haven't given it to me yet. Looking at the shameless Wu Yong, Feng Wuji directly brought out what happened before. After all, he had actually helped him lure away several elders and heads of the Wying sect. No matter what, he had to have his share when the spoils were divided. Ah! Upon hearing what Feng Wuji said, Wu Yong immediately scratched his head in embarrassment. Isn't this lost? Forget it. I don't want the 40 spiritual stones. This time we are even. HMPH. We're even. Who's even with you? Pay me back. Pay me back my hard-earned money. Hearing Feng Wuji's reluctance, Wu Yong let out a hiss and disappeared in a flash. After all, he was wrong. If he continued to pester him, he might really be blackmailed by Feng Wuji, an old beggar. Feng Wuji smiled and looked at Wu Yong's retreating back, pretended to touch his beard deeply and then nodded. He muttered to himself, "You brat, you must remember what I said. Before you become stronger, you must learn to keep your head down and be a good person. Sometimes it is not shameful to kneel to others. Learning to be patient is the first element of becoming a strong person." Although Feng Wuji looked sloppy and mean every time, he taught Wu Yong every time he appeared. The purpose of wielding the Chongzheng sword in front of the fire beast was to tell him the correct way to use the Chongzheng sword. The purpose of constantly draining his spiritual power was to make his meridians more flexible. This time, I wanted to tell him that when he was still weak, you must learn to be patient. It's just that the method used by Feng Wuji is different from ordinary people, and Wu Yong is a young boy in his prime. It's strange that he can listen at this time. Feng Wuji walked slowly in the direction where Wu Yong disappeared. The empty wine bottle hanging on his waist began to sway as he walked. 2 hours later, Wu Yong arrived at the gate of Sin City. 2 monks in black armor immediately stopped him with spears in their hands. "Stop. Those who enter the city must first hand over the spirit stone over there, and only after receiving the token can they enter the city." A monk wearing black armor looked at Wu Yong and pointed to the toll booth next to him. Wu Yong didn't care about this and walked towards the place where the fee was charged. After all, the 2 low-level monks guarding the city gate also had responsibilities, and handing the spirit stone into the city was not just for him. "Hello, enter the city and get 20 low-grade spiritual stones." There was a middle-aged monk who looked like a master sitting at the toll counter. At this time, the middle-aged monk said without raising his head. He didn't even look up at Wu Yong. Wu Yong took out 20 low-grade spiritual stones and placed them on the table. The middle-aged monk who looked like a master handed over a blue token after receiving the spiritual stones. "This is the ticket for entering the city. This token is valid for 1 month. You can enter and exit at will with the token within 1 month. After 1 month, if you pay 20 yuan of low-grade spiritual stones here again, you can stay for 1 month. This is true every month. If you don't turn in by the time, the guards of the Lord's mansion of Lingxi City will drive you away." Wu Yong took the blue token to enter the city and turned around to walk towards the city gate without looking back. When he passed by the 2 monks on duty, he took out the token and shook it. After seeing the token, the 2 monks stopped stopping him. After a while, Wu Yong started to walk around in this sinful city. After all, he came here to buy elixirs and sell some magic weapons and monster cores he had harvested during this period. After walking around for most of the day, Wu Yong came to the door of a business called Chinpin Pavilion. Because he had been walking around and this business was the largest, the door was the most imposing, and there were more monks coming in and out. "Hey, is there anything this senior needs? Our store is good quality and cheap, and most monks who go out to sea to kill monsters choose to come to our Chinpin Pavilion to buy elixirs and magic weapons." As soon as Wu Yong entered the door, a young monk who looked like a waiter immediately trotted over to serve him. "Okay, I know you are awesome at Chinpin Pavilion. Call out your shopkeeper. My business is too big, you may not be able to make the decision." Hearing Wu Yong's words, the waiter immediately frowned. "What do you mean he can't make the decision? How big is the business that he has to ask the shopkeeper? If it is a small business, the shopkeeper will beat him to death." Wu Yong saw the waiter motionless, and immediately realized his mentality. "Are you afraid that my business is not big enough? Here is this spiritual stone for you, just as your running fee." Looking at the waiter with a long face, Wu Yong threw out a low-grade spiritual stone. After receiving the spiritual stone, the waiter was overjoyed. "Thank you, senior, thank you, senior, I will go and ask our shopkeeper now." Thanking Wu Yong, the waiter ran towards the inner hall. A low-grade spiritual stone is a good income for him who is at the 2nd level of chi refining. Even if the business is not big, he will be scolded by the shopkeeper at most. At this time, the other waiters immediately beat their chests and stamped their feet, hating themselves for not running to receive the guests earlier, and letting Urguzi get a low-grade spiritual stone in vain. The waiters around looked at Wu Yong as if he was looking at a local rich man, and kept praying in their hearts that this local rich man could also give them a low-grade spiritual stone. Faced with these strange and fiery gazes, Wu Yong was unmoved. After all, it was extremely difficult to get a spiritual stone from him. The spiritual stone just now was just for the waiter to ask the shopkeeper out. After a while, the waiter just led a tall middle-aged man. This middle-aged man had a beard on his face, and a short robe with his hands exposed was tightly supported by his strong muscles. This middle-aged man didn't look like a shopkeeper at all. If the waiter hadn't led the way just now, he would have thought that this was a customer who came to buy items. Who is it? Who wants to talk big business with me? If the business is not big enough, I will be furious. The voice came before the person arrived. The shopkeeper, who looked like a middle-aged man, started shouting when he was still some distance away from Wu Yong. The waiters around him pretended to be busy when they saw the shopkeeper coming out. It can be seen that these waiters are very afraid of this shopkeeper. The waiter just brought the middle-aged man to Wu Yong, then bowed slightly and walked to the side, joining the army pretending to be busy. Is it you? What big business does this Taoist friend want to do with me? I am Chinpin Pavilion. You will pay the price if you deceive me. Wu Yong saw the middle-aged man so arrogant, and immediately threw 3 storage bags from his arms. This is just a part of the low-level magic weapon. See if we can sit down and talk. The shopkeeper, who looked like a middle-aged man, took the storage bag thrown by Wu Yong, and then his eyes were full of light after a sweep of his spiritual sense. Oh, what are you talking about, fellow Taoist? You are a guest. I, Odabiao, am the most hospitable person. Please come in quickly. Odabiao's spiritual consciousness scanned the 3 storage bags. When he saw that they were full of magic weapons, his attitude changed faster than that of the waiter just now. He nodded and bowed to welcome Wu Yong into the inner hall. Several waiters breathed a sigh of relief when they saw Odabiao walking into the inner hall, and then started chatting again. Hey, Orguzi, you have paid it forward. If you send a message, you can get a low-grade spiritual stone. Our monthly salary is only 5 yuan. Who told you not to focus on the bright spots? You missed such a rich man in vain. As a few people chatted, another guest walked in through the door. The waiters immediately rushed towards the guest, with an unusually good attitude, and immediately began to receive him. The customer looked at the waiters in bewilderment and kept muttering in his heart, what happened today? When did the waiters at Chinpin Pavilion have such a good service attitude? Every time I came here, they used to show off my face. Is it because I am more handsome than them today? Yes. Senior, what can I help you with? Our store is honest and has high-quality products at low prices. If you need anything, we can help you introduce it. Ah, well, I need a bottle of low-level qi replenishing pill. TCH, it turns out to be a poor man. As soon as the waiters heard that this guest wanted a bottle of low-level qi tonifying pills, they immediately started to despise him and left in a rush. Only Urguzi was left to take the guest to the elixir area. Wu Yong followed Odabiao to the inner hall, and saw a room of about 20 square meters. The shelves around it were filled with all kinds of rare treasures. In the middle, there was a jade-carved tea table and 4 white marble tea tables. Stool. Sit down, please take a seat. I don't know what to call this fellow Taoist. Is this the shopkeeper of Chinpin Pavilion, Odabiao? Wu Yong immediately became happy when he heard the name Odabiao. This is not to blame him. After all, Odabiao was so famous before he traveled through time. My name is Mu Yong. You said your name is Odabiao. Have you ever pulled a banana before? Wu Yong directly reported the name of the Mu Yong leader. After all, you can't use your real name when you go out. This is also to prevent someone with evil intentions from attacking him, so it is safer to use a pseudonym. In the hall of the 5 Sects Alliance, which was millions of miles away, leader Mu Yong, who was sitting on the high platform, suddenly sneezed twice. Do you have any questions, fellow Taoist? I am indeed Odabiao. I am the only Odabiao within 1,000 miles. I just don't know what kind of treasure the banana in my friend's mouth is. Oh, it's okay, I'm just curious, so I'm just asking. Let's talk business next. Okay, I have always liked people like Taoist friend who are straightforward. I don't know how many magic weapons you still have. I, Chinpin Pavilion, collected them all at a high price. Do you only accept magic weapons? Do you accept spiritual herbs and demon cores? Of course I'll take this. Fellow Taoist, do you still have spiritual herbs and demon cores to sell? When Wu Yong heard Audiobook's words, he immediately took out a dozen storage bags and piled them on the table made of jade. Ah ha 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 ha, fellow Taoist is really a cheerful person. I will arrange for someone to come over and take inventory. Fellow Taoist, please wait a moment. Audiobook turned and walked towards the sales hall of the store. After a while, he brought back 3 waiters. After entering the room, these 3 people saluted Wu Yong and then began to count the magic weapons, spiritual herbs and demons that Wu Yong took out. Nuclear. Audiobook was drinking tea with Wu Yong. During this period, he chatted with Wu Yong without saying a word, and kept asking about Wu Yong's identity. Where did fellow Taoist Wu Yong come from? I haven't seen fellow Taoist in this sinful city before. Oh, I come from a very far away place. I won't tell you exactly where. Everyone has come to Sin City, so they must have some little secrets in their bodies. You think so, right? Shopkeeper Audiobook. Yes, fellow Taoist Mu Yang is right. I am being arrogant. Everyone in this sinful city is not carrying a few lives on their backs. Just like me, I killed a powerful man because of an injustice in the city, so I escaped here as a last resort after being chased by several monks in the transformation stage. It seems that shopkeeper Audiobook is still a chivalrous man. I admire you. I, Mu Yang, am not as courageous as you. I just peeped at a group of old ladies taking a bath, so I was hunted down and escaped here. What's going on today? I sneezed so much for no reason. I haven't sneezed in thousands of years. Head Mu Yang in the 5 Sects Alliance Hall kept sneezing. When Audiobook heard that Wu Yong said that he peeped at a group of old ladies taking a shower, he was slightly surprised. This expression was just an act of his. He didn't believe the nonsense Wu Yong said. He was not a fool to be the shopkeeper. He understood that this was Wu Yong's hint to him to stop asking. Ah ha ha ha, fellow Taoist Mu Yang is really good at joking. Come and drink tea. This is the best spirit tea. This spirit tea is produced in the center of the Demon Sea. It's just a small bag that I, Chinpin Pavilion, spent the lives of dozens of golden core monks to collect, but I wouldn't drink it easily. Quote. Audiobook suddenly changed his voice and started bragging about his spirit tea. Wu Yong would definitely not believe his lies. What kind of tea could make dozens of golden elixir monks pick it regardless of their lives? Even if he had that, he wouldn't be able to use it to entertain himself. If it really cost the lives of dozens of Jindan monks, then this tea must not be sold at a sky-high price. Although Wu Yong knew that Audiobook was bragging, he didn't try to expose him. Listening to Audiobook's constant boasting, Wu Yong would cooperate with him and give him a slight smile from time to time. At this time, the counting of the 3 waiters on the side was coming to an end. After a while, a waiter came over respectfully and bowed to Audiobook to report. I would like to inform the shopkeeper that all the items that Senior Mu wants to sell have been counted. They are worth a total of 30,000 mid-grade spiritual stones. In addition, Senior Mu has more spiritual grass and demon cores, so the prices are relatively low. After listening to the waiter's report, Wu Yong was not very surprised, because he also knew that a first-order demon core was only worth 10 low-grade spiritual stones, and a third-order demon core was only worth 1,000 yuan. Therefore, being able to sell 30,000 yuan of mid-grade spiritual stones is within his acceptable range. After all, people have to earn a little in business. After hearing what the waiter said, Audiobook waved his hand to him, and the 3 waiters respectfully left the room. Do you have any doubts about this, fellow Taoist Mu? I, Chinpin Pavilion, have always been honest in doing business. Very good. I have no objection, but I also want to buy some elixirs for healing and restoring spiritual power. In addition, I also need a complete map of the Demon Sea. Ha ha ha, that's no problem. The price of our store's high-end spiritual cloud elixir and high-end spiritual recovery elixir can be said to be very cost-effective in this Sin City. For those like Taoist friend Mu Yang who need a large amount, I can still do it. I'll give you some discounts. But a complete map of the demonic sea requires 2,000 medium-grade spiritual stones, so that's no less. Then give me 10,000 pieces of middle-grade spiritual stones in exchange for the elixirs and maps. Excluding the price of the map, I will give you half of all 8,000 medium-grade spiritual stones to buy high-level spiritual cloud pills and high-level spiritual recovery pills. Quote, "Okay, fellow Taoist Mu, please sit down for a while, I will make arrangements right away." Oda Biao walked out of the room happily. Today he not only collected a lot of valuable magic weapons and demon cores, but also sold a large number of elixirs. This made him unhappy. Just as Wu Yang was sitting and waiting for Oda Biao, a quarrel suddenly broke out at the gate of Sin City. Feng Wuji was spitting at a monk who looked like a general with an angry face. The monks wearing armor suddenly gathered around, pointing their sharp spears at Feng Wuji, just waiting for the general's order. Chapter 91. Chinpin Pavilion. An hour later, Oda Biao walked in with a smile, holding 2 storage bags and a jade slip, and waved boldly to Wu Yang as he walked. "Fellow Taoist Mu, ha 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 ha, I've been waiting for a long time. It took me some time to prepare the elixir. Come on, here are 20,000 pieces of medium-grade spiritual stones. This is the elixir. This jade slip is engraved with a complete sea of demons. With the map, you can see the whole picture with just one glance." Wu Yang took the storage bag containing the spiritual stones and elixirs and put it in his arms. Then he scanned the jade slip of the map with his consciousness. At this time, a complete map appeared in Wu Yang's mind. It was boundless. The sea and the locations of the islands in the sea are also clearly marked, especially some of them are marked with red circles next to them as the territories of some powerful monsters. Wu Yang briefly checked the map and then put it away. "It's okay, no need to test it. The map is fine. As for the spiritual stones and elixirs, I believe in the character of shopkeeper Oda Biao. Ha 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 ha, I really like the character of fellow Taoist Mu. If you still have any unused magical herbs and demon cores in the future, please come to Chinpin Pavilion to sell them again." "Absolutely. If nothing happens, I'll leave first. As fellow Taoist Mu Yang leaving now. In the past few days, our Chinpin Pavilion will organize a team to go to a place in the Sea of Demons to hunt down a late third-order monster. The employer is willing to pay 10,000 mid-grade spiritual stones. As a reward, if we successfully bring back the demon core, we will give each person an additional 1,000 medium-grade spiritual stones. The 4 of us are all in the late nascent soul stage. If fellow Taoist Mu Yang is willing to accompany us, we will divide it evenly between the 5 of us, 1 person for each person. 2,000 pieces of medium-grade spiritual stones. When Wu Yang heard that there was spirit stone to be earned, and it was only a 3rd-level late-stage monster, and they also had 4 late-stage nascent soul monks, this business could be done. Anyway, he planned to go to sea, so he might as well go with him and still earn a fortune. Pen Spirit Stone. Are you sure that shopkeeper Oda Biao is hunting a late-level 3rd-level monster? Isn't it 4th level? And will the spirit stone be given to you right away? Don't tell me that I won't be interested if you wait until you come back to give it to us together. It's natural. The employer will settle the 10,000 middle-grade spiritual stones before departure. If the demon core is brought back, the employer will also reward each person with 1,000 medium-grade spiritual stones. I, Chinpin Pavilion, have already found out about this monster. Yes, it's definitely the late 3rd level. Okay, I agreed. Time and place for the meeting. I will be there on time. Ha ha ha, it's so refreshing. 50 miles outside the city in 7 days, Fengbo Pavilion. Let's set off together when everyone is here. Okay, I'll take my leave now and see you in 7 days. Ha ha ha, fellow Taoist Mu Yang, walk slowly. Wu Yang left Chinpin Pavilion. Originally, he wanted to exchange spiritual stones and elixirs and set off, but now he agreed to Oda Biao to hunt a late 3rd-level monster, so he planned to wait a little longer. The smile on Oda Biao's face disappeared immediately after Wu Yang left, and turned back to a fierce look. He thoughtfully picked up the teacup and drank. At this time, Wu Yang walked towards the city gate. He didn't want to stay in the city because the inns in the city were very expensive. 20 mid-grade spiritual stones were needed for 1 night. Although 20 mid-grade spiritual stones were not enough for him. It's not that you can't afford it, but in order to advance to the stage of transformation as early as possible, you can save a little bit. Anyway, with his Zochin cultivation in the later stage of nascent soul, the monsters around this sinful city cannot cause harm to him. Instead, they can send him their own monster cores, so he is going to find a place near Fengbo Pavilion. A place to stay for 7 days. Just when Wu Yang was halfway towards the city gate, a group of monks like an army came towards him. The leader was an early Yuanying monk, riding a brown-haired monster with a single horn that looked exactly like a horse, beast. The monk on the horse was wearing black gold-rimmed armor, a unicorn helmet on his head, a pair of purple gold combat boots on his feet, and a silver spear in his hand that exuded a strong evil aura. At a glance, he knew he was a veteran of many battles. General. The 2 rows of monks who were trotting behind them were walking in neat steps, and with every step they took, there was a sound of marching as uniformly as a military parade. The monks on both sides of the street where the army of black-armored monks passed by suddenly gave way and dispersed. Now the monks on both sides of the street looked at this group of black-armored monks with envious expressions in their eyes. At this time, these casual cultivators are all dreaming that one day they can become a member of this black-armored team. After all, this represents the highest honor in the Sin City. Not only can they get training resources issued by the City Lord's palace, but they can also live permanently in the city. In this sinful city. Therefore, all the monks in Sin City dream of joining the black-armored army of the City Lord's mansion, but the conditions for joining the black-armored army are too harsh, so a lot of people are rejected every year. At this time, Wu Yong also followed these casual cultivators and the black armor army gave way and retreated to the side of the street. However, while he stood quietly waiting for the black armor army to pass by, a sudden sound came from inside the black armor army. "You brat, help me, I'm here, help." Wu Yong turned around and saw an old beggar in the black-armored army being tied up with chains by 2 black-armored monks and being dragged behind him to run away. When he heard Feng Wuji shouting, the 2 black-armored monks who were escorting him immediately scolded him, "Why are you making such a fuss? You old beggar, just stay calm. I'll have a good look at you when I get back to the dungeon of the City Lord's mansion. Did you hear that, brat? If you don't save me, I will die. You heartless, white-eyed wolf." Feng Wuji shouted at Wu Yong at the top of his lungs, but Wu Yong was covering his ears with both hands, muttering to himself, "Old beggar, it's not that I won't save you, it's that I can't hear, I'm already blind and can't hear." Ha! The general in the early stage of nascent soul who was leading the way heard Feng Wuji's voice and immediately pulled the reins in his hands. The first-born single-horned horse monster stopped immediately, and the general on horseback turned the reins to the left. With a pull, his legs pinched the horse's belly. The horse turned left and walked towards Feng Wuji. The general in the early stage of nascent soul looked at Feng Wuji who was wailing, and followed his eyes to Wu Yong who was covering his ears. Suddenly the silver spear in his hand was pointed at Wu Yong. "Boy, what is your relationship with this old beggar? Tell me, are you his accomplice?" When Wu Yong heard this, he was shocked and waved his hands non-stop. What a joke! How could he admit that he knew Feng Wuji now? Although he was not afraid of these black-armored troops from the City Lord's palace due to his own cultivation, he had one more thing on his mind. It's better to take one thing less. Anyway, Feng Wuji's cultivation level is higher than his own, maybe he is experiencing life. General, I don't know this old beggar. What he said is nonsense. He went to the doctor in a hurry to identify him. Oh General, this kid is lying to you. I am on the same team with him. Catch him quickly, don't let him escape. Feng Wuji heard Wu Yong say that he didn't know him, and he immediately shouted again. The general in the early stage of nascent soul heard Feng Wuji's words and immediately gave the order. Here comes someone, catch him. Yes. Following the order from the general in the early stage of nascent soul, 2 black-armored monks suddenly ran out of the black-armored army and charged fiercely towards Wu Yong with shining spears. When Wu Yong saw that Feng Wuji had no martial ethics, he was still thinking of dragging himself into the water, and the pressure of the great perfection in the late nascent soul within his body was immediately released. Boom! A circle of transparent coercion turned into ripples and spread around. At this time, all the casual cultivators and the black-armored troops around them suddenly felt that their hearts were being pressed by a huge mountain. Some casual cultivators with low cultivation levels knelt down directly under this pressure. Come down. The general in the early stage of nascent soul who was riding on the horse suddenly changed his face and quickly got off the horse. At this time, his face was pale and his lips were trembling, and he bowed respectfully to Wu Yong. Wu Yong looked at Feng Wuji, who was still smiling under his pressure, and then looked at the pale-faced general in the early stage of nascent soul who bowed to him and spoke slowly. I said I have nothing to do with him, and I don't know him. Yes, yes, the junior should not doubt the senior's words. The junior deserves to die. I will take the people away right away without disturbing the senior. Get out. Wu Yong withdrew the pressure, and the general in the early stage of nascent soul got on his horse and shouted at the black armored army. Keep going, back to camp. Yes. A strong and uniform voice came from the black armor army, and they slowly left under the leadership of the general in the early stage of nascent soul. The general who was in front had a look of fear on his face. His body was already wet with sweat, and his heart was beating wildly. He kept muttering, "Phew. I am looking for death. I actually provoked a senior who is in the later stage of Zochin. His coercion is not the slightest. No worse than several city lords. Fortunately, senior doesn't mind, otherwise I would be dead." Just when Feng Wuji passed by Wu Yong, he spoke to Wu Yong viciously. "You fool, just wait, show your coercion and don't even open your mouth to save me. You're cruel." "Huh, who are you? Where are you? I can't see. I'm deaf." Wu Yong covered his ears and closed his eyes. His virtue is nowhere near that of a Zochin monk in the late nascent soul. He is clearly a fool. Although he didn't know why Feng Wuji pretended to be caught, he didn't bother to care. He only knew that Feng Wuji, an old beggar, would never do anything meaningless. Wu Yong then walked towards the city gate amidst the shocked eyes of all the casual cultivators. Along the way, the casual cultivators all around him clasped their fists and bowed towards Wu Yong. "Wow, this senior looks so young, I didn't expect that his cultivation level is so high." "Shut up and don't talk nonsense. You don't know that some seniors are so good at looking good that they look young but are actually thousands of years old." "Ah, that's it. It seems you really can't judge a book by its appearance. It would be great if one day I could achieve such a level of cultivation. Work hard. Don't fantasize every day. Don't you know how much you weigh? It would be great if you could join the black armored army. I also want to have a cultivation level like my senior. What are you dreaming about?" As Wu Yong walked along, there was a lot of discussion among the crowd around him. After a while, the street returned to its previous appearance, and bursts of hawking sounds came from the stalls on both sides of the street. After Wu Yong walked out of the Sin City, his body rose into the air and flew towards the Fengbo Pavilion. When the two black-armored monks on duty at the city gate saw Wu Yong rising into the air, they immediately started chatting. "Hey, third brother, he is another high-level monk. Look at him. He dares to fly directly outside the city where second-level monsters are everywhere. You are envious that you can fly, but I am afraid that you will be attacked by a second-order monster as soon as you fly. By the way, what did the old beggar think just now? He even shouted that he wanted to eat the general's second-order monster alone. Wildebeest, he doesn't want to live anymore. Is it okay to be alive after being taken back by the general? This one-horned horse is the general's favorite. He is reluctant to touch it. He actually threatened to cook it and eat it. I think this old beggar is also crazy. Forget it. Take care of these people and take good care of your shift. We can change the shift in another hour. Let's have a good time after the shift." Quote. "Ha ha ha, let's go, I just won hundreds of spiritual stones yesterday." Wu Yong came to Fengbo Pavilion while the two black-armored monks guarding the city were chatting. Looking at the pavilion on the barren mountain, Wu Yong didn't know why it had such a name. This reminded him of a famous general, a legendary general who fought for the country. Sitting in the Fengbo Pavilion and thinking about the deeds of this general, Wu Yong suddenly felt so proud that he would give up on others. The wind thundered at the command, and the sound of the sky moved the north. I drove across the Heluo River and headed straight for Yanyu. The horse's blood is the blood of the Yan family, and the flag owl's head is sweating. Return to report to the Lord and restore the old China." Quote. Wu Yong muttered a poem and walked out of Fengbo Pavilion, then turned around and bowed respectfully to Fengbo Pavilion. This is a kind of admiration and a kind of regret. After bowing, Wu Yong disappeared in a flash and came to a flat mountain rock wall. With a thought in his mind, the Chongzheng sword appeared in his hand, and Wu Yong raised his hand to draw a sword. Bang! A light sword suddenly struck the smooth stone wall, and a violent explosion occurred on the stone wall, and a cave was formed. Boo hoo hoo! 5 small flags were shot on the stone wall of the cave, and then Wu Yong formed seals with his hands and hit the bands one by one. Wu Yong stopped after hitting dozens of groups of bands in a row. Buzz. A buzzing sound came from the formation. The defensive formation was completed. Wu Yong dodged towards the formation in a flash. As soon as his body came into contact with the restricted formation, he immediately disappeared. In the cave, Wu Yong waved his hand, and two ding-ding sounds were heard. A hanging net was immediately hung on two stone walls, and then Wu Yong lay down and kept swaying. Of course, it is impossible to practice cultivation. After all, this is not a dangerous place. At this time, I have enough spiritual power in my body to practice as a ghost. Lying on the hanging net, he kept thinking about Ode Biao's nonsense. Then again, this mysterious employer would pay 10,000 medium-grade spiritual stones just to get the demon core of a third-level monster. Things would definitely not be like Ode Biao's. De Biao said it so easily. If you go, this trip will definitely be very dangerous. God knows what kind of troubles you will encounter. Although Wu Yong wanted to get these 2,000 pieces of mid-grade spirit stones, he would not be blinded by the spirit stones. Anyway, the spirit stones had to be settled before departure. Regardless of whether the matter would be successful this time, he still had to be careful. If you feel that nothing can be done when you reach your destination, you should immediately find a way to escape. Anyway, with the map in hand, he was rushing to cross the Sea of Demons. Wu Yong would not be stupid enough to risk his life for 2,000 middle-grade spiritual stones. He wanted the spiritual stones anyway, and he also wanted safety. The feeling that Ode Biao gave him before was not as simple as it appeared. Even though he looked like a man with strong muscles and a proud face laughing, Wu Yong still sensed a hint of danger from him. The 7 days passed quickly. During this period, Wu Yong woke up and woke up. For him, the 7 days were just a blink of an eye. After all, his lifespan of the great perfection in the late nascent soul is at least 10,000 years. Ah, ha ha ha. Wu Yong stood up from the hanging net, stretched and punched the air a few times, as if he had just woken up. Then he put away the hanging net and walked to the entrance of the cave and waved his hand. At this time, a large hole suddenly appeared in the mountain stone wall that looked normal from the outside. Wu Yong's figure flew out of it. With a thought, 5 small flags flew towards him and disappeared into his arms. Without looking back at the temporary cave, Wu Yong headed towards Fengbo Pavilion, and soon he came to the pavilion that aroused his overwhelming pride. At this time, 4 figures in the Fengbo Pavilion were communicating with each other. There were 3 men and 1 woman in total, a fat young monk, a middle-aged man with a resolute face, and a young woman with an even figure and a good face. Together with Ode Biao, there were 4 people in total. When Ode Biao saw Wu Yong coming on time, he immediately laughed and waved to Wu Yong. Ha 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 ha, fellow Taoist Mu Yong is really punctual, come and get to know each other. As Ode Biao's voice came out, Wu Yong suddenly felt 3 sharp eyes sweeping towards him. Wu Yong walked towards the Fengbo Pavilion unmoved. Ha ha ha, come on, let me introduce to you. This is Taoist Mu Yong. Even though he looks young, even I can't see through his cultivation. This time I have Taoist Mu Yong. By joining us, we are more certain of success. Seeing Ode Biao introducing himself, Wu Yong slightly cupped his fists in response. This young and beautiful fairy's name is Roni. She is a powerful lady from a 5th-level cultivation country who came to practice. The beautiful woman named Roni smiled slightly at Wu Yong, her eyes full of affection as if she was looking towards Wu Yong. I feel very good about it. The person next to me is my good friend Zhang Kangyang. We are both shopkeepers in Sin City, but he is in another store. I will take on this mission with him. Hello, fellow Taoist Mu Yong, I'm Zhang Kangyang. The middle-aged man with a resolute face immediately hugged Wu Yong and introduced himself politely again. Nice to meet you, Wu Yong simply replied, and then he noticed that Roni was still staring at him. Ha ha ha, next is this person. This is fellow Taoist Zhang Chao who came out to practice with Fairy Roni. Their families are also powerful forces in the 5th-level cultivation country where they are located. Just after Ode Biao introduced the fat man's identity, the fat man named Zhang Chao spoke immediately. Mu Yong, I know a lot of high-level monks in this city of Sin, but I have never heard of you. The fat young monk suddenly gave Wu Yong a cold look and said a little arrogantly. I don't know why this fat young monk seemed to dislike Wu Yong and said such offending words as soon as he opened his mouth. This made Odabiao's laughing expression freeze instantly, and he felt an inexplicable smell of gunpowder slowly rising. Haha, I only came to Sin City recently. It's normal for this fat man to have never heard of your name. Besides, this is the first time I've heard of your name. Wu Yong remained calm after hearing the sarcasm of the fat man. Zhang Chao replied. You. When Odabiao saw that the two were unwilling to give in to each other, he immediately came out to smooth things over to prevent the situation from escalating. Take it easy, you two. Ha ha ha, urban young people, don't break the friendship. Since we meet, it's fate. Our mission is our mission. Ha ha ha, everyone, please calm down. HMPH. When he heard Odabiao come out to smooth things over, the fat man named Zhang Chao snorted coldly and turned to look at the sky in the distance. Welcome fellow Taoist Mu Yang, I am Luo Ni from the Luo family of the Qing Kingdom, a 5th level cultivation country. If you have the opportunity to come to our Qing Kingdom in the future, fellow Taoist Mu Yang, please pay a visit to my Luo family. The slender Roni looked at Wu Yang with a smile and said. Although this Roni is not particularly beautiful, her appearance is considered to be of high quality. Wu Yang has always liked to deal with beautiful women. At this time, when he faced Roni's invitation, he felt a little excited. Okay, fellow Taoist Luo Ni, I will definitely visit you at Luo's house when I have the opportunity. Wu Yang replied to Luo Ni with a gentle and gentlemanly look. At this time, the fat man Zhang Chao on the side became even more angry. Seeing Wu Yang and Luo Ni talking and laughing, he suddenly spoke irritably. That's enough. Are we here for a mission or are we here to get to know each other? Do you want to complete this mission? If not, I will leave. Nini, what do you have to talk about with this extremely poor casual cultivator? How many spiritual stones can he take out of his clothes? Quote. Okay Zhang Chao, why are you doing this? I just saw Taoist Mu Yang chatting with each other. Are you like this? Besides, we are just good friends who come out to practice together. Why are you so hostile to Taoist Mu Yang? Well, Luo Ni saw Zhang Chao still mocking Wu Yang, and immediately looked at Zhang Chao and said as if he was defending Wu Yang. Of course Zhang Chao was furious. He must get Roni. After all, he spent so many spiritual stones on her and wasted so much time. How could he let others get involved? For Nini's sake, I won't argue with him. Come on, Nini, take this spiritual stone and spend it. You can buy whatever magic weapon you want. When you return to Qing country, I will give you a unique one. Skirt, I heard that there is a colorful Lushan skirt at the Potion Sect auction house that has not been taken away. I will take it and give it to you when I get back. Roni expressionlessly accepted the spirit stone from Zhang Chao and nodded gently. Wu Yang doesn't care so much. He only cares about when he will get the spirit stone, but if someone messes with him, that's another matter. When Odabiao saw that the atmosphere had relaxed, he immediately answered the question. Ha ha ha, yes, don't be angry. Let me tell you about the content of this mission. Our Chinpin Pavilion has spent a lot of money to set up a formation near this late 3rd level monster. At that time, the 5 of us only need to lead it into the formation, and then we will control the formation to kill it. This is the Wuji Clear Water Formation, which requires 5 late-stage Yuanying monks to jointly control it, so everyone should familiarize themselves with the formation in advance. As long as we work together to activate the 5-pole Clear Water Formation, we will be able to successfully complete this mission. Quote. After Odabiao finished speaking, he took out 4 jade slips and gave one to each of the 4 people present. Wu Yang took the jade slips and understood the structure of the formation with a glance of his spiritual consciousness, because he had already understood the 18 Plum Blossom Forbidden Rules. Thorough, so in this world except for some powerful formations and some unknown restricted formations, he can understand the structure of other formations at a glance. Wu Yang threw the jade slip back to Odabiao, which shocked the other 3 people. When Odabiao saw the jade slip he had just handed out and was handed back by Wu Yang, he suddenly became nervous and started thinking wildly. Isn't this Mu Yang not going? He handed the formation back without even looking at it. The other 3 people had the same mentality as Odabiao at this time, and they all felt that Wu Yang was going to give up on this mission. I have already mastered this formation, so I'd better return the jade slip to you. Wu Yang said slowly while looking at the shocked people. When Oda Biao heard Wu Yang say that he had already mastered it, he was even more shocked. This was the 5-pole clear water formation created by the person behind him some time ago. Oda Biao himself did not dare to say that he had fully understood it. Wu Yang just glanced at it. He had already learned how to do it, which shocked him. He knew clearly that this formation had never been leaked. If Wu Yang wasn't bragging, it was because his formation skills were better than those of the mysterious person behind him. Obviously Oda Biao prefers the former, that is Wu Yang is bragging. You're bragging and you don't even draft a draft. How could a casual cultivator be so poor and love to brag so much? Ha ha ha, you're such a clown. The fat man Zhang Chao suddenly started mocking at the side. He didn't think Wu Yang could learn the 5 extremes clear water formation at just one glance. Yes, fellow Taoist Mu Yang, you should take a look. After all, the 5 of us are indispensable for this mission. Oda Biao also persuaded. Looking at the arrogant fat man Zhang Chao, Wu Yang's eyes flashed with disgust, and with a wave of his hand, a prototype of the formation appeared in the open space outside the Fengbo Pavilion. At this time, Oda Biao opened his eyes wide and opened his mouth into an O shape. Others didn't know it, but he knew very well that this was the original prototype of the Wuji Qingshui formation. As long as many restrictions were placed on it, the ultimate form of the Wuji Qingshui formation would be revealed. It showed that he was completely convinced after Wu Yang's action. Not only that, Oda Biao was getting more and more shocked at this time, because Wu Yang's formation skills were really astonishing, so when he looked at Wu Yang, there was even a hint of hidden fear in his eyes. The 3 people around looked at Oda Biao with an incredible look on his face. They also knew that Wu Yang had really mastered this 5-pole clear water formation. The middle-aged Confucian scholar's expression at this time was extremely wonderful, a little embarrassed and a little envious, because he had just felt I don't believe Wu Yang's words either. Roni stared at Wu Yang with bright eyes, the look of admiration in her eyes was beyond words, and the faint smile on her face showed admiration. This was obviously the girl's heart throbbing. Only the fat man Zhang Chao was left with a shit-eating expression on his face. At this time, his face was as ugly as possible, and his face was red from suppressing it. When he saw the admiration in Roni's eyes, his face changed from suppressed red to livid. Wu Yang looked at the livid fat man Zhang Chao calmly. I don't know who is the clown now, but look at it, he looks like he can't pull out his daddy. You, poof. The fat man Zhang Chao was so excited that he couldn't say anything. A mouthful of blood suddenly spurted out from his mouth, and he kept roaring in his heart, I will definitely make you pay 100 times the price, and this Ronnie. Calm down, everyone, calm down, let's set off. Oda Biao immediately launched a flying boat. This flying boat was like a loft and was extremely luxurious. There were 2 huge wings on both sides of the flying boat. The bow of the ship is as pointed as a spear, and strangely there is no sail on the ship. This airship is like a loft in the sky, majestic and spectacular. It has no traditional sails, but relies on huge wings on both sides for stable flight. Mysterious light shone around the flying boat, which was a powerful defensive formation that provided solid protection for it. This airship is not only a means of transportation, but also a powerful combat weapon. When encountering a monster, it can not only defend itself but also launch a counterattack. As long as the formation above is controlled, the formation will actively attack the enemy. Oda Biao flew onto the boat one step ahead, followed closely by his friend the middle-aged scholar. Fatty Zhang Chao glanced at Roni. Nini, let's get on board too. Well, let's go, Roni replied, and when she passed by Wu Yang, she looked at Wu Yang affectionately, which made Wu Yang's heart flutter slightly. Is this love coming again? My charm, Wu Yang muttered to himself, and suddenly became a little excited. He is not a good person. If he has to send it to his door, then he will be sorry to God. Wu Yang followed them and was the last to fly onto the huge flying boat. When Oda Biao saw everyone arriving, he immediately took out 5 medium-grade spiritual stones and placed them in the 5 grooves of the flying boat's console. As the middle-grade spiritual stone was embedded in the huge flying boat, its wings on both sides began to shake. After a while, the flying boat slowly took off and flew slowly towards the center of the Demon Sea under the control of Oda Biaofei. Fellow Taoists, it's a long journey. You can choose a room you like to rest in. I will notify you when we get there. Oda spoke to several people while controlling the flying boat. After listening to Oda words, Wuyong walked in from the deck on his own. When he saw Wuyong walking in, Ronnie immediately followed him. I wonder which room Taoist friend Muyong should choose. Wuyong turned around when he heard the sound and saw Ronnie walking towards him. Just this one, there are so many rooms anyway, it will be the same everywhere. Then I'll choose that one. It happens to be 2 rooms away from you. It's not far away, just right. Forehead. After hearing what Ronnie said, Wuyong was a little confused at this time, but it was not his fault. Who knew that Ronnie had been teasing him intentionally or unintentionally? At this time, the fat man Zhang Chao came over, shaking his body. He snorted when he saw Wuyong, and then looked at Ronnie. Nini, I live across from you. Call me if you need anything. Here are 100,000 pieces of medium-grade spiritual stones. You can use them to practice first. If you don't have enough, tell me. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth here is thin, so you should use spiritual stones to practice. Yeah, Ronnie hummed softly, took the spirit stone, and then walked to the 2 rooms they chose with fatty Zhang Chao. Wuyong walked to the door of the room he chose and pushed the door open. The furnishings in the room were simple, with only a table, a few stools and a bed. Perhaps the spacecraft needed to sail in the sea for a long time, so there was less furniture in the room. This was because they were afraid that the furniture would move with the wind when encountering wind and waves. Wuyong was lying on the bed and his consciousness spread out in all directions. At this time, everything within a radius of 500 miles was shrouded in his consciousness. He took out the map of the Demon Sea and compared it with the current route. He needs to know where he is in the Demon Sea at all times, because everyone in this team is not familiar with him, and the fat man Zhang Chao looks displeased with him. He knows that this journey is not that simple. Not only must he be on guard against all kinds of dangers that may happen at any time, but he must also always monitor Oda and the others to see if they have any evil intentions. And then there is this fat man Zhang Chao. If he finds a chance, he will definitely do something to them. Do it yourself and do it without hesitation. At night, Wuyong couldn't sleep. At this time, he opened the door of the room and came to the deck. As if she was observing Wuyong all the time, Ronnie also opened the door and walked out. Is Taoist Wuyong not practicing? I thought I was the only one who couldn't calm down to practice. It turns out Taoist Wuyong is the same. When Luoni saw Wuyong standing alone on the deck looking into the distance, she smiled and walked towards him. Oda and the middle-aged scholar returned to the room and closed their eyes to rest. The flying boat was flying by itself. The spiritual energy here is thin, so I didn't practice. I was bored, so I came out to see the night of the Demon Sea. Wuyong made up an excuse to get by. Luoni didn't care and stood quietly beside Wuyong. The air was a little ambiguous at this time. Luoni touched the back of Wuyong's hand intentionally or unintentionally, which made Wuyong seem a little at a loss. Suddenly, the hull shook and tilted, and Luoni took advantage of the situation and fell into Wuyong's arms. Oh, Wuyong subconsciously protected her with both hands. Luoni was lying on Wuyong's chest at this time. She could clearly hear his heartbeat getting faster and faster. The hull shook and returned to normal. Luoni also stood up again at this time. I'm sorry, fellow Taoist Wuyong. I didn't stand firmly just now and caused you trouble. Oh, it's okay, it's okay. I should be sorry. I offended fellow Taoist Luoni. Fellow Taoist Wuyong, why don't you call me Nini? I like others to call me that, especially you. At this time, Wuyong didn't know how to continue, so he simply kept silent. Luoni also stopped talking at this time. The two of them just looked at the sea in the distance quietly. 2 days later, the flying boat began to fly over the Demon Sea. At this time, the second-level monsters began to increase. Wuyong was lying on the bed and covering the surroundings with his spiritual sense. He saw a huge sea fish jumping up from the bottom of the sea and crashing into the flying boat. Boom! As soon as the giant fish entered the range covered by the flying boat formation, the formation on the flying boat immediately shot out a silver light. The silver light shot out from the formation shot at the giant fish, and the giant fish's body was immediately shot through. With the sound of the explosion, the giant fish's body fell heavily towards the sea, stirring up rolling waves. Wu Yong saw that the formation of the flying boat was so powerful that even the second-level monsters could be easily killed. If he had such a flying boat, it would be much easier for him to cross the Demon Sea. Wu Yong began to think about how to get such a flying boat. As soon as the giant fish fell into the sea, a group of palm-sized small fish jumped on the giant fish and started to eat it. After a while, only a skeleton of the giant fish was left and it slowly sank to the bottom of the sea. In the next few days, there were second-level monsters attacking the flying boat, and all of these monsters were killed one by the formation on the flying boat. Odabiao only came to the console from time to time to replace the consumed middle-grade spirit stones. Wu Yong looked at Odabiao with a relaxed look on his face. It seemed that he had great confidence in this flying boat, because some ordinary second-level monsters could not cause any damage to the flying boat. Fellow Taoist Odabiao, where can you buy this flying boat? How many spirit stones do you need? Ha ha ha, it turns out to be fellow Taoist Mu Yang. This flying boat is not mine. It was just lent to me by my employer in order to help everyone save spiritual energy during this mission. It must be returned at the end of the mission. Oh, can I ask who the employer of our mission is? I'm sorry, fellow Taoist Mu Yang. Please forgive me for not being able to comment on this. However, my employer has already given me the reward for this mission. Here are 2,000 pieces of medium-grade spiritual stones. Fellow Taoist Mu Yang, please keep it. Hearing this, Wu Yong had no need to ask any more questions. He also knew that such a powerful flying boat would be difficult to own for someone like Odabiao. After all, the cost of building such a flying boat was definitely very high. Only some big forces and big families could have. Wu Yong took the spirit stone and put it into his storage bag. Just when Odabiao was about to leave, he stopped him again. Fellow Taoist Odabiao, can you tell me how to control this flying boat? If you encounter something important and you can't get away, I can help you. And I'm also very curious about this flying boat. Oh, do you want to learn how to control the flying boat, fellow Taoist Mu Yang? It's not difficult, come here and I'll teach you. When Wu Yong saw Odabiao agreeing, he suddenly became curious and quickly followed Odabiao to the control panel of Feijo. Look, fellow Taoist Mu Yang. This is the console. This control panel is actually a small formation. As long as we use spiritual power to activate the formation's I formation, it will operate. Then we will be in these 5. Put the middle grade spirit stone into a groove, and the flying boat will be activated. This is where the defensive formations around the flying boat are controlled. We can control the formations here to attack the incoming monsters or monks at will. Wu Yong listened patiently to Ode Biaofei's explanation, and then Ode Biaofei gave him a chance to demonstrate in person at his request. Wu Yong firmly remembered how to control the flying boat and the surrounding formations. How about it? Have you learned it, fellow Taoist Mu Yang? This is how the flying boat is controlled. When there is no danger around, we can let the flying boat fly by itself. Only when we encounter danger will we control it manually. Generally, monsters below the second level it will not pose a threat to this flying boat. Thank you, fellow Taoist Odabiao, for clarifying my doubts. I only know a little bit about this flying boat. Speaking of mastery, I can't even talk about it. If I encounter danger, I have to rely on fellow Taoist Odabiao. Ha 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 ha, it took me a long time to learn how to control this flying boat. Taoist Mu Yang can understand it slightly just by looking at it once. This has already impressed Ao. Okay, I will go back to practice. Taoist Mu Yang is free too. Thank you, fellow Taoist Odabiao. I want to stay here for a while. I have never seen the Demon Sea before. I am very curious about everything in this sea, so I am staying here for a while. In that case, I'll take my leave first, ha 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 ha. Odabiao still looked cheerful. Wu Yong looked at Odabiao's disappearing figure, and then turned to look at the Sea of Demons. The Demon Sea is dark, mysterious and terrifying. The sea is rough and the waves are rolling, as if there are countless dangers hidden. In this sea area, monster beasts are rampant. They are huge in size and have different shapes. Some have sharp claws, while others can spit out blazing fire. What Wu Yong has to do is to try to avoid the location of these powerful monsters. Wu Yong looked at the islands that the flying boat passed by. There may be powerful monsters on these islands. These islands are like their territory and cannot be invaded by others. The island has jagged rocks, sparse vegetation, and an air of decay. It seems that in these territories, monsters and beasts are fighting with each other, vying for survival resources and hegemony. The black water is like ink and unfathomable, and there may be even more powerful mysterious creatures hidden in it. Whenever the waves hit the rocks of the island, they make a dull sound that makes people shudder. There were dark clouds over the demonic sea, and lightning flashed from time to time, adding a strange color to the sea. Just when Wu Yang was thinking about walking back to the room after staying for a while, he suddenly found Roni walking out of Fatty Zhang Chao's room, and she straightened her clothes on her chest when she walked out of the door. Just as Wu Yang was about to step into the corridor, he immediately retracted his body, flashed towards the deck, and then came to the side of the ship, pretending to look at the sea in the distance. We are all adults, and he must know what this means. Wu Yang's heart suddenly felt stinging, and he felt frustrated. He couldn't figure out why Roni had fallen in love with him and deliberately fell on him. How could a monk in the late nascent soul stage become unstable under a little wave? She had obviously done it on purpose before, so Wu Yang felt that she liked him. But judging from what she just saw, it was obvious that Roni had given herself to Fatty Zhang Chao. Originally, Wu Yang didn't have so many twists and turns about relationships. If you don't like it, just stay away. Why do you keep teasing yourself? Forcing himself to calm down, Wu Yang walked back to the room and lay on the bed, tossing and turning, unable to calm down. For 3 days in a row, Wu Yang was struck by a deep sense of frustration. Late that night, the spacecraft suddenly shook violently, and there were constant explosions all around. This movement immediately woke up 5 people. Wu Yang jumped up from the bed and quickly rushed out of the deck. He saw Odabiao and the middle-aged Confucian scholar and monk had already arrived on the deck 1 step ahead of him. Fatty Zhang Chao and Luo Ni also rushed out of the room at this time. At this time, Fat Zhang Chao was still arranging his clothes, and Luo Ni there was a shallow slap mark on his face. When Odabiao saw that everyone had arrived, he immediately said, "Fellow Taoists, we have encountered a group of second-order sea snake monsters. Now these sea snakes are constantly attacking our airship. I have to concentrate on controlling the formation around the airship. To counterattack, the 4 fellow Taoists will be on the side to assist. I will open the gap in the formation in a moment. When the formation is opened, I hope that the 4 fellow Taoists will not hesitate to attack and kill as many second-order sea snakes as possible around them." The 4 of them nodded in unison. Odabiao flashed to the control panel of the flying boat. He kept making seals with his hands, one by one on the control panel of the flying boat. Wu Yang secretly locked onto Oded with his consciousness. Biao kept writing down the seals in his hands and the location of each seal, while the other 3 were always ready to attack as if facing a formidable enemy. At this time, under the control of Odabiao, the formations around the flying boat suddenly shot out streams of silver light. These silver lights shot into the densely packed sea snakes around them, and exploded continuously. The sea snakes exploded one after another under the explosion. The body exploded. "Attack!" Odabiao shouted, and a gap opened in the flying boat's protective formation. The middle-aged Confucian scholar and monk was the first to act. He took out a seal from his hand. The seal grew bigger with the wind. After a while, the seal flew out of the formation and became as big as a hill. The middle-aged Confucian scholar kept urging himself. The spiritual power was injected into the seal, and the white jade-colored seal suddenly struck the group of sea snakes with a rumbling sound of breaking through the air. Boom! The sea snakes covered by the white jade seal were smashed to pieces by the seal. The shock wave generated by the white jade seal spread in all directions, and the surrounding sea snakes were immediately impacted and spread in all directions. Fatty Zhang Chao followed closely behind, and a large purple gold bowl was pulled out from his hand. As Fatty Zhang Chao's spiritual power was injected into the big bowl, it suddenly became 1,000 feet in size and fell upside down from the air. Buzz! The purple gold 1,000-foot-long bowl was clasped in the group of sea snakes, and the sea snakes clasped by the bowl were strangled one after another. Fatty Zhang Chao killed more than 10,000 second-order sea snakes with one blow. A pink flying sword appeared in Roni's hand. Under her driving force, the flying sword flew out from the gap in the formation and kept shuttling among the sea snakes. A pink stream of light kept flying among the sea snakes. As he shuttled back and forth, sea snake bodies fell into the sea one after another wherever he passed. Wu Yong retracted his sweep towards Ode Biaofei's spiritual consciousness, raised his hand and flipped over the long Zheng sword, which suddenly appeared in his hand. He gently swung the sword towards the gap in the formation. Boom! The golden sword light was like a practical golden giant sword, exuding dazzling golden light and slashing towards the group of sea snakes. Boom! Waves spread out, and the surrounding black water suddenly seemed to be split in half with a sword. A huge abyss appeared in the middle, and the water on both sides was divided into two. Sea snakes within 100 miles radius turned into golden light and disappeared under this sword. The violent shock wave turned into circles of ripples and spread continuously in all directions. At this time, small black fish as big as a palm on the bottom of the sea were shaken out of the water by more than 10 meters under the action of this violent shock wave. Wu Yong's seemingly random sword could produce such terrifying destructive power, which shocked the other 4 people. However, Wu Yong did not pay attention to their gazes. After finishing the sword, the Chongzheng sword disappeared and he took it back to the storage bag. The middle-aged Confucian scholar, Fat Man Zhang Chao and Luoni immediately took back their magic weapons. Under the control of Odabiao, the gap in the formation was recovered. Several people looked at Wu Yong with different thoughts in their hearts. They looked at each other one by one. Everyone looked at Wu Yong with deep fear, but only Roni's eyes were filled with admiration. At this time, Odabiao had also controlled the airship to fly out of the attack range of the sea snakes. At this time, he stepped down from the console and let the airship fly by itself. Ha ha ha, I never thought that fellow Taoist Mu Yang's cultivation would be so unfathomable, I admire you so much. As Ode Biaofei spoke, the middle-aged Confucian scholars also echoed. Yes, I didn't expect that fellow Taoist Mu Yang could kill countless second-level sea snakes with just one sword. This strength is really unfathomable. Faced with the compliments from the two of them, Wu Yong just calmly returned the favor with cupped fists. You two have won the prize. Your little skills are nothing to mention. I believe that you two must still have some secrets. It's just that they haven't reached the critical moment. Their secrets are definitely no worse than mine. Ha 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 ha, fellow Taoist Mu Yang really has nothing to say. I like this character. I, Odabiao, recognize you as my friend. Ha 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 ha. Yes, yes, when fellow Taoist Mu Yang returns to Sin City, we must keep in touch frequently. I, Lu Zisheng, welcome fellow Taoist Mu Yang to bother me at any time. Sure, Wu Yang couldn't refuse the two of them at this time. After all, he had no intention of returning to Sin City again this time. It was just a transit point for him to exchange spiritual stones and elixirs. His destination had always been to travel through time. The Sea of Demons has reached the 5th level cultivation country. During this journey, keep collecting the spiritual herbs and harvested demon cores you encounter, and earn as many spiritual stones as possible, so that you can break through to divine transformation as soon as possible. When the fat man Zhang Chao saw the two of them complimenting Wu Yong non-stop, he immediately glanced at Wu Yong with an angry look on his face, snorted heavily and walked back to the room. Roni came to Wu Yong and pulled the corner of his clothes. Fellow Taoist Mu Yang, let's talk. The little girl has some questions about cultivation and wants to ask you for advice. Huh, oh, well, if you have anything to say, just say it here. At this time, Odabiao and Lu Zisheng were also very sensible, and they immediately clasped their fists at Wu Yong. Fellow Taoist Mu Yang, we have just consumed a lot of energy and need to go back immediately to restore our spiritual power. I will not disturb your communication with Fairy Luo, ha 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 ha. As Odabiao and Lu Zisheng left, a different feeling filled the air. Wu Yong walked towards a ship hull, and Luoni followed closely behind. Fellow Taoist Roni, if you have any questions, just ask. I will tell you everything you know. Mu Yang, didn't I tell you to call me Nini? Why did you call me fellow Taoist Roni again? Haha, I suddenly realized that it's not appropriate to call you Nini. Let's call you fellow Taoist Roni. After all, calling you too intimate will make others misunderstand, right? Who would misunderstand me? Can't you feel my feelings for you? Don't you have any feelings for me? This was when Roni mustered up the courage to say what she had always wanted to say, but this sounded so ridiculous to Wu Yong. Perhaps if she had said this a few days ago, Wuyong would have held her in his arms without hesitation. But now, haha. It doesn't matter now whether I'm attracted to you or not. Maybe I was moved when I saw you, but now, I'm sorry. What do you mean? One look at you and you can tell that you have been through a lot, and what is there that you haven't seen yet? Can't we try to be together? Didn't I make it clear enough? I already know it. I'm afraid Fatty Zhongchao will misunderstand. As soon as Roni heard about Fatty Zhongchao, she immediately took 2 steps back, as if Wuyong knew some big secret. Her face began to turn pale, and a look of regret rose from the bottom of her heart. Can you please stop mentioning this person who makes me sick? I don't want to hear his name. I just want to be with you. Haha, maybe I would have been attracted to you before, but now, to put it bluntly, I just can't get past Fatty Zhongchao. I hate him so much. Should I understand? I didn't betray you. Why do you have to use that fat man as an excuse? Even if there is anything, it happened before you. Can't we forget him in the future? I'm sorry that I'm not good enough. Just pretend that I didn't hear what you just said. Let's just stay friends from now on. This is good for everyone. When Roni heard that Wuyong rejected her, she suddenly felt aggrieved. Do you think you are outstanding? There are many people like you in the 5th level cultivation country. You have no money and no family power. How can you make your woman happy? So is this why you are willing to give yourself to Fatty Zhongchao? Do you think money and power are important? Can't a young man who is working hard bring you happiness in the future? You are wrong. All money and power strength is accumulated by oneself, and power is only created after a person succeeds, but you are only willing to sit back and enjoy the success, and are not willing to spend time with a young man who is struggling. Quote, you are really too self-righteous. Do you have to use that fat man to disgust me? I said I don't want to think of these things. At this time, Wuyong stopped listening to Luoni and turned back to the room. Wuyong felt that such a woman was not worth it. Even if he had a little throbbing in his heart at that time, this throbbing had been cut off by his sword. Luoni looked at Wuyong's back at this time, tears flowed down her eyes. At this time, she didn't know what she was thinking. Suddenly, she stretched out her hand and slapped herself hard, and then walked back to her room with tears. After Luoni returned to the room, she shot a spiritual power at the water in the bathtub, and suddenly bursts of white smoke rose in the bathtub. Luoni took off her clothes and soaked in the bathtub, constantly wiping her body with a rag, and tears as big as beans flowed from the corners of her eyes. At this time, Luoni seemed to want to wipe off the dirt on her body, and kept rubbing the rag in her hand. Her snow-white body had been rubbed red by herself at this time. She felt that she was very dirty now, as if she couldn't wash it clean no matter how she washed it. Wuyong returned to the room and lay on the bed. At this time, he had a calm face and didn't know what he was thinking. He reached out his hand and touched the air, muttering to himself. Sister Lu, Ching Ching, lovely junior sister and beautiful master, what are you doing? Do you miss me? I will come back to find you when I break through the spirit transformation, and I will never leave you again. No words were spoken for a few days. On the 10th day after Wuyong and the other 5 boarded the flying boat came to an isolated island in the deep sea. On this day, Odabiao summoned everyone to the deck. Dear Taoist friends, this is our destination. On the map of the Demon Sea, it is called Dark Coral Island. The nest of this 3rd stage late stage monster is on this island. We need to get off the boat here and go to the island by ourselves. The fat man Zhang Chao saw that the destination had been reached, and immediately asked the question in his heart. Fellow Taoist Odabiao, since we have arrived at our destination, you should tell us what kind of monster this is. You can't just let us go to the island without knowing what monster we are dealing with. Isn't that a bit unfair? It has to be said that the doubts in the heart of the fat man Zhang Chao are exactly the doubts in Wuyong's heart. Although Wuyong hates him very much, Wuyong agrees with his question this time. It's my fault, but this is the employer's order not to reveal the identity of the monster until the destination, so I really have no choice. Please don't blame me, fellow Taoists. I will tell you all the information now. This time our target is a 3rd stage late soffish beast. We have already found out that this beast is in the 3rd stage, and there is no sign of advancement in the short term. What? A 3rd stage late soffish beast? Is it the sawfish beast with a very long front end snout and high attack power? It is said that this monster is extremely fast and extremely ferocious in the deep sea, and no grass grows wherever it passes. Fat man Zhang Chao was immediately terrified when he heard the name of the sawfish beast. Although Wu Yang had never seen or heard of this sawfish beast, it was not difficult to find from the terrified expression of Fat man Zhang Chao that this sawfish beast must be extremely terrifying and difficult to deal with. At this time, Wu Yang also looked at Audiobook, and spoke first when Audiobook was about to speak. Fellow Taoists Audiobook and Lu Zisheng have already known in advance that our mission target this time is the sawfish beast. I believe you two should have some secret treasures specifically used to deal with the sawfish beast, right? Ha ha ha, nothing can be hidden from fellow Taoist Mu Yang. That's right. This time, the employer not only lent us the flying boat, but also gave us a top-grade spiritual weapon specifically used to restrain the sawfish beast in order to successfully bring back the demon core of the sawfish beast. The fear on the face of Fatty Zhang Chao slowly dissipated after hearing this, and he immediately spoke curiously again. What spiritual weapon can actually restrain the sawfish beast? Let me keep this a secret. I will take it out when the critical moment comes. Hearing what Audiobook said with such confidence, several people immediately felt relieved. As Audiobook took the 5 middle-grade spiritual stones from the console, the flying boat quickly became smaller after Audiobook played several seals, and finally became the size of a palm and was put into his storage bag. At this time, the 5 of them flew into the air, and Audiobook took the lead in flying towards the island. Only a few people's bodies flashed, and several streams of light shot towards the island and landed steadily on the island. Fellow Taoists, here is the prototype of the formation we deployed before. This is the formation flag for each person. When the time comes, each of us will hold one of the 5 formation eyes. After Audiobook finished speaking, he handed each of the 4 people a black formation flag. When Wu Yang took the formation flag, he immediately felt clearly in his heart the waves emitted by the 5-pole clear water formation hidden underground. He felt that as long as he inserted the formation flag above the formation eye, the hidden 5-pole clear water formation will be activated immediately. Audiobook explained to everyone again that they planned to explore the sawfish's cave together after nightfall. As long as they were sure that the sawfish was in the cave, they would find a way to lure the sawfish to this place. In the method, use the formation to kill him. That night, Audiobook led a few people to a gloomy cave on the island. Wu Yang slowly explored the cave with his spiritual consciousness. At this time, his spiritual consciousness did not dare to go too deep, because once he was caught by this, if the sawfish notices it, it will alert the snake. Not here, not here, not here, several people whispered in unison. The 5 people just used their spiritual senses to explore the cave. Naturally, they all discovered that the sawfish was not in the cave at this time. Then several people slowly retreated back to the formation. Next, we divided into 3 groups. Fellow Taoist Lu Zisheng and I were in one group, fellow Taoist Zhang Chao and fellow Taoist Lu Oni were in one group, and fellow Taoist Mu Yang was in one group. Fellow Taoist Lu Zisheng and I went to the bottom of the sea to look for the sawfish. According to the traces, fellow Taoist Zhang Chao and fellow Taoist Lu Oni are going to guard the entrance of the cave, while fellow Taoist Mu Yang is here to respond at any time. What do you think of my arrangement? Audiobook expressed his thoughts to everyone. At this time, everyone had no objections except Roni, who looked unhappy. After the division was completed, Audiobook and Lu Zisheng dodged towards the sea and went to the bottom of the sea to look for traces of the sawfish. Fatty Zhang Chao and Lu Oni also went to hide near the gloomy cave. Wu Yang is the only one left here. At this time, he is constantly scanning around the island with his spiritual consciousness. At the same time, he takes out a map of the Demon Sea and is studying it. He must be prepared for an escape route if he fails, because just when he was exploring the cave with his spiritual consciousness, he discovered the aura left by the sawfish beast before. From this aura, he had a vague feeling that this beast was not so easy to deal with. That's why he won't risk his life for 2,000 middle-grade spiritual stones. Once he realizes that something cannot be done, he will be ready to escape. After experiencing the Boundary Mountains and Terra Desert, he understands that caution is the best way to protect himself. Methods. 2 days later, the water in the distance on the black surface of the Demon Sea suddenly rolled. The huge black waves kept churning the surrounding water. The black waves tens of meters high were like a huge black curtain wall beating towards the island. Judging from the endless rolling of the black waves, it looked like a tornado was rotating on the bottom of the sea. Wu Yong looked at everything happening on the Black Sea in the distance, and the Chongzheng sword suddenly appeared in his hand and he became very energetic. Fatty Zhang Chao and Luoni were also alarmed by the huge waves and rushed back from the gloomy cave of the sawfish. The two people who had just returned saw Wu Yong holding a sword in one hand as if facing a formidable enemy. People also offered their own magic weapons. At this time, strong winds and huge waves were constantly surging on the sea, and there were traces of black lightning among them. As the black giant waves got closer and closer, two figures suddenly rushed out from the bottom of the rolling giant waves at high speed. Lu Zisheng, hurry, hurry up, otherwise we will be in trouble if the sawfish catches up. It is stronger in the sea than on the shore. At this time, Odabiao mobilized his spiritual power with all his strength and kept shooting toward the island, while Lu Zisheng followed him closely. Don't panic, I still have a chaos talisman. If it catches up, I should be able to withstand it for a while. Send a message to fellow Taoist Mu Yang and the others quickly, so that they can be prepared and activate the formation at any time. After Lu Zisheng finished speaking, he took out a gray talisman from his arms and held it tightly in his hand. Wu Yong and the other three were staring closely at the two streams of light above the sea. They knew that the two streams of light were Odabiao and Lu Zisheng. Looking at the way they were running away at high speed, they knew that there were sawfish beasts in the huge waves behind them. It was definitely among them. At this moment, Wu Yong suddenly heard the voice transmission from Ode Biaofei. Three fellow Taoists, be prepared at all times. The sawfish is under the huge waves behind us. Once it hits the island, we will immediately activate the formation to trap it. Hearing Ode Biaofei's message, Wu Yong and the other three immediately stood on top of an formation, and the black formation flag was already sacrificed in front of them. Boom! With an explosion, a long saw suddenly rushed out of the huge black wave. The black long saw was covered with sharp saw teeth. The long saw rushed towards Lu Zisheng and Odabiao at great speed. Lu Zisheng, be careful. It's coming. Look at my chaos talisman. At this time, the gray talisman that Lu Zi was holding tightly in his hand was thrown back. As soon as the gray talisman was released from his hand, it became larger in the wind. The enlarged talisman suddenly exploded, and the surroundings suddenly turned into chaos. The long black saw was stuck in this chaos. Suddenly, the long black saw seemed to be stuck in the mud, and its speed became sluggish. Taking advantage of the slow moment of the black saw, Odabiao and Lu Zisheng quickly distanced themselves from it. At this time, they were getting closer and closer to the island. Boom! The chaos talisman only trapped the black long saw for a breath, and the chaotic space formed by the chaos talisman was immediately shattered by the violent twitching of the black long saw. Boom! The huge black waves rolled towards the island again. The roaring sound of the huge waves was like a doomsday tsunami. It set off huge waves wherever it passed. At this time, the black water around the island shrank rapidly and flowed backwards to be absorbed by the huge waves. Pieces of huge rocks buried deep in the seabed were suddenly exposed under the contraction of the sea water, which suddenly expanded the area of the island by less than half. Boom! Ode Biao and Lu Zi were taking advantage of the moment when the chaos talisman stopped the sawfish beast. As they ran away with all their strength, their bodies fell onto the island uncontrollably. The two of them stood up quickly as soon as they were hit, and rushed towards Wu Yong and the others in a flash. Quick, get ready, it's coming. The sawfish beast is coming soon. After listening to Ode Biao's words, all five people raised their black formation flags. Just waiting for the sawfish beast to rush in, the black formation flag floating in front of them would be inserted into the formation eye at high speed. Boom! In an instant, huge black waves hit the huge rocks around the island. The huge rocks were directly cracked by the waves, and cracks suddenly appeared on the huge stone surface. Huge black waves tens of meters high hit this lonely island like a tsunami. Spiritual shields suddenly appeared around the bodies of the five people standing on the formation. Wu Yong had already used the spiritual shield and was still wearing it. With the explosive armor and the spiritual shield at this time, he can be said to have the best defense among the five. Boom! The black sea water poured over the island, and the island suddenly became smaller visibly to the naked eye. Wu Yong and the 5 people were instantly submerged by the black sea water. As the island shrank rapidly, the 5 people felt as if they were under the sea. Everything around was submerged by sea water. From the air, only a small half of the top of the island that still existed just now was left exposed above the sea water. Huge waves were rolling all around, and there were traces of black lightning. They were black snakes flashing in the sea water. At this time, Wu Yong, who was in the sea with his spiritual consciousness, finally saw the true face of the sawfish beast. This late third-order monster beast was rushing towards them at great speed. Wu Yong, who saw the black saw just now, had been wondering what kind of magic weapon it was. Now, with his spiritual consciousness, he suddenly knew that it was part of the body of the sawfish. This made his heart skip a beat and he swallowed hard. I saw the huge body of the sawfish in the dark water, completely exposed to Wu Yong's consciousness. It was worthy of being the overlord of the ocean. Wu Yong experienced the terror of the sawfish for the first time. The sawfish possesses a long snout, which is as long as 1/3 of its body. Its sharp teeth sparkle with cold light, making people shudder. Its body is strong, its 4 legs support its huge body, and it moves quickly, traveling through the ocean like lightning. The waving of their tails provides powerful propulsion, allowing them to move through the water with ease. The destructive power of this creature is extremely powerful. They can easily tear apart hard objects. Looking at its hard black scales, you can tell that its defense power is equally terrifying. Its rock-hard shell makes them almost indestructible. When the sawfish launched its attack, the seawater also churned. At this time, the bottom of the sea was like a storm coming, and the sawfish's long snout immediately strangled the 5 people. Odabiao stared at the sawfish closely, and when he saw the opportunity, he immediately sent a message to several people. Activate the formation, run the 5-pole clear water formation with all your strength, and trap this beast. When several people heard Odabiao's anxious message, the black formation flag floating in front of them was directly inserted into the formation eye. Buzz. With the insertion of the black formation flag, the 5-pole clear water formation hidden underground immediately appeared, and a huge cyan 5-pointed star was formed in the sky, echoing the 5 people on the ground. As the 5 people spared no effort to inject their spiritual energy into the formation, the 5 extremes clear water formation was now emitting a dazzling green light. Boom! The decades-long body of the sawfish directly hit the 5-pole clear water formation. At this time, the gap in the formation was closed, and the 5 black formation flags made a hunting sound. The sawfish trapped in the Wuji clear water formation was roaring non-stop, and was frantically slamming into the surroundings of the formation with its long snout saw. Boom! Boom! The sawfish's kiss saw kept pulling towards the formation barrier, and huge explosions kept ringing in the formation. No matter how the sawfish beast hit the 5-pole clear water formation barrier, it remained motionless and showed no signs of breaking. Only circles of cyan ripples spread with the blow of the kiss saw. That's it, everyone, hold on. As long as we continue to use formations to consume the sawfish's physical strength, we can succeed in this mission. After Odabiao finished speaking, he increased the output of his spiritual power. When several others saw Odabiao like this, they also increased their spiritual power output. Although Wu Yong also followed the instructions, his consciousness was divided into 5 parts at this time, 1 part locked on the sawfish beast in the formation, and the other 4 parts locked on the remaining 4 people. The 5 people continued to control the 5-pole clear water formation. One day later, the sawfish beast in the formation saw that no attack it encountered could break the formation. It suddenly looked up to the sky and roared as if it was angered. The 2 lantern-like eyes quickly turned red. At this time, after a day, the black tide has faded, and the island has been exposed again and returned to its original appearance. The sawfish's huge body is currently using its long tail to continuously hit the formation barrier. The kissing saw at the front is also constantly cutting the edges of the formation. Looking at his scarlet eyes, the 5 of them felt slightly in their hearts. They saw that the sawfish beast in the formation suddenly stopped all attacks. At this time, it was lying down and panting. Streams of white mist continued to come out of the nostrils amidst the sawfish's breathing. No, it's going to advance. Stop it quickly, Odabiao shouted, and immediately raised his hand and turned over a silver arrow. It appeared in his hand. The arrowhead of the silver arrow was rusty and mixed with some dried blood. 4 fellow Taoists help me and use a bit of spiritual power to control my formation flag, allowing me to free my hands to prevent this sawfish from advancing, otherwise we will all die when it successfully advances. At this time, several people also realized the seriousness of the matter. If the sawfish really successfully advanced to become a 4th-level monster, then the 5 of them would definitely not be able to escape. No one could survive the attack of this 4th-order monster. Leave alive. Boom. Wu Yong and the other 3 people each injected a spiritual power into Audiobook's black formation flag. At this time, Audiobook flew to the sky above the formation, muttering something in his mouth. He saw silver arrows floating slowly in front of his chest, pointing downwards at the sawfish in the formation. At this time, Audiobook kept making seals with his hands, and he hit each seal on top of the silver arrows. With each seal, the light of the silver arrow becomes brighter. Audiobook's hands are getting faster and faster at this time. As each seal is printed on the silver arrow has turned into a silver light. The silver light was like a silver meteor, constantly traveling through the surrounding space. Destroy. God. At this time, as the last seal fell, Audiobook shouted to destroy the gods, and the silver arrows suddenly emitted a silver light that reached the sky. This silver light suddenly illuminated a radius of thousands of miles, and the silver light scattered on the surrounding sea surface. It's like being under the rays of a silver sun. This scene suddenly makes people feel extremely sacred. The silver arrows emitting silver light soaring into the sky shot downwards at extremely fast speeds, and a silver meteor shot at the sawfish beast in the Wuji Qingshui formation at lightning speed. Boom! As a violent explosion sounded, silver light scattered in all directions, and circles of silver ripples continued to spread within the formation. Being hit by the silver arrow on its huge body, the huge back of the sawfish beast was suddenly bloody. At this time, a painful wailing sound sounded from the mouth of the sawfish beast in the formation, followed immediately by another sound. An extremely angry roar. Roar. The sawfish roared as if something particularly important had been lost instantly, causing its eyes to turn blood red. Boom. At this time, along with the roaring sound, a muffled sound came from the sawfish beast's body. After hearing the sound coming from the sawfish beast's body, Audiobook's expression suddenly changed. Then he quickly flew back to his own formation eye, and used all his spiritual energy towards the formation eye. Quick, hold on. This sawfish failed to advance and exploded the demon core in its body. It is burning life, and it will fight for its life. After self-destructing the demon core, its strength will enter the 4th level in a short time. If we can survive it, maybe you can save your life. The expressions of several other people suddenly changed when they heard Audiobook's words, especially the fat man Zhang Chao, who immediately wanted to escape after hearing Audiobook's words. If we run away now, everyone will die faster. No one here can successfully escape at the speed of a 4th-level sawfish beast. Audiobook immediately yelled at Fatty Zhang Chao when he saw him trying to escape. Fatty Zhang Chao also gave up the idea of escape at this time and began to use all his spiritual power in his body. As the 5 people fully controlled the 5-pole clear water formation, the formation's barrier seemed to be turning into reality. The pentagonal light in the air was strong, and the light emitted from it shone on the sawfish, suppressing it to death. I saw the sawfish beast in the formation's fiery red eyes shooting out 2 red lights at this time, and its long snout was raised high with its raised head. Roar. An earth-shaking roar spread in all directions, and the sawfish forcefully waved its long sawtooth to attack the formation barrier. Boom, boom, boom. As the sawfish beast attacks the formation barrier, the light dims rapidly. Faced with the attack of a late-level 3rd-order monster that self-destructs its demon core, Wu Yong and the 5 of them are constantly shaking under each attack of the sawfish beast. Everyone, hold on. The sawfish's 4th-level strength shouldn't last long. As long as we hold on, we'll have a chance. Audiobook suppressed his blushing face and spoke to several people with difficulty. Not only Audiobook, but the other 4 people including Wu Yong were also the same at this time. Their faces were all red, as if they didn't have time to breathe. Boom, boom. Under the repeated attacks of the sawfish beast, a crack finally appeared in the formation barrier. When the sawfish beast saw the crack, it immediately became even crazier, and its long saw teeth kept cutting towards the crack in the barrier. Boom. Just when the sawfish beast's attack landed on the crack of the barrier again, Fatty Zhong Chao suddenly took out a talisman and stuck it on himself, then fled to the distant sea at a high speed. With the blessing of the talisman, Fatty Zhong Chao quickly disappeared in the vast sea. As Fatty Zhong Chao fled, one of the 5 array eyes of the formation was missing. Under the attack of the sawfish beast, the array barrier was broken into pieces and exploded directly. The huge explosion impact immediately knocked the 4 people hundreds of meters away. Wu Yang, who flew backwards, fled at a high speed without looking back. At this time, they were definitely not a match for the sawfish beast without the formation. Odabiao, Lu Zisheng and Luoni also reacted in the same way. The 4 people fled in all directions at the same time, and the furious sawfish beast chased in the direction of Odabiao and Lu Zisheng's escape. At this time, the sawfish beast was extremely fast, and its huge body shot directly at Odabiao and Lu Zisheng like a giant lightning. Bang! The long tail hit the 2 people directly, and there was a violent explosion. Odabiao and Lu Zisheng were immediately hit by the sawfish beast's tail and smashed to the bottom of the sea. The sawfish beast plunged directly into the bottom of the sea with a bang and chased Odabiao and Lu Zisheng. At this time, Odabiao and Lu Zisheng spit out a mouthful of blood directly on the bottom of the sea. The 2 were just hit and smashed into the bottom of the sea. They didn't care about stabilizing their injuries and directly started the escape mode. In the dark seabed, 2 streams of light were flying at high speed, and the dark seabed and the 2 streams of light seemed out of place. The huge body of the sawfish beast was not affected at all at the bottom of the sea at this time, and the sawfish beast was even faster than on land. Odabiao and Lu Zisheng were desperately running away in front, and the sawfish beast was stirring the surrounding sea water behind them and chasing them at high speed. Because Wu Yang was running in the opposite direction of them, he was already thousands of miles away from the 2 and the sawfish beast. Wu Yang released his consciousness and ran away at full speed. Dao Yu Muyang, wait for me. Wu Yang, who was running away at a high speed, suddenly heard a female voice. He turned around and saw Luoni flying towards him at a high speed. Wu Yang was still flying at full speed without slowing down. At this time, Luoni also took out a talisman that was exactly the same as the fat man Zhong Chao and stuck it on herself. Her speed suddenly increased. After a while, she came to Wu Yang and walked side by side with him. Didn't you run away in another direction? How did you appear here? Dao Yu Muyang, I'm afraid that if I run to one side alone and encounter danger, I can't solve it myself, so I feel safer to be with you. And we can help each other when we encounter danger together. Hearing Luoni say this, Wu Yang no longer refuted. After all, she was right that 2 people are indeed safer than 1 person, and they can help each other when encountering anything. After 2 days of flying at high speed, the 2 slowed down. During these 2 days, they also killed hundreds of 1st and 2nd level monsters. Human cultivators would be attacked by some monsters from time to time when flying in this sea of monsters. Judging from what happened in the past 2 days, it is indeed much safer for 2 people to go together than alone. With the continuous consumption of spiritual power these days, Wu Yang and Luoni were also overwhelmed at this time. They nodded and landed on a deserted island. As soon as Wu Yang landed, he directly swung the Changjiang sword. A golden sword light was swung by Wu Yang and immediately killed several 2nd level monsters on this deserted island. The 2 did not waste words. One of them opened up a cave alone and his body flashed in. Wu Yang shot out the 5 elements flag the moment he entered the cave, and at the same time laid dozens of defensive prohibitions. Wu Yang did not care about Luoni, because he knew that the young ladies of these big families who came out to experience the magic weapons on their bodies were no less than himself. After doing all this, Wu Yang immediately entered the state of cultivation, running the Tai Sheng Daoju to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth and transform it into his own spiritual power. As time passed slowly, 3 days passed in a flash, and Wu Yang had recovered to his peak state. He then took back the 5 elements flag, removed the defensive restrictions, and walked out of the cave. As soon as he came out of the cave, he saw Luoni sitting alone on a stone. When Luoni saw Wu Yang walking out of the cave, she immediately walked towards him happily. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.